Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council of April the 17th. And we appreciate your indulgence for the late start. We're going to ask our city attorney to call the roll. No, I'm sorry, we're going to ask our city attorney to do a report out of closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members of the community. This evening, the City Council met in closed session and took up one item of anticipated litigation with 4 items. On 3 of them relating to Dermody and the Stone Creek Neighborhood Group, the City Council received updates from litigation counsel and took no reportable action. On the other relating to the threat of litigation by Elliott Homes, the City Council considered a potential settlement with Elliott Homes and provided direction to legal counsel and the city manager to proceed with implementation of a settlement agreement and gave approval for that settlement agreement on a vote of 5-0. And that settlement agreement, in short, provides for for a waiver of all of Elliott's potential claims against the city related to its development proposals, including warehouse proposals on a large site immediately adjacent to the school and across the street from the logistics center. And in exchange, it would sell the properties that Elliott Homes owns, totaling approximately 41 acres, to the city in a purchase and sale agreement that will be on the agenda by later this evening. So the settlement agreement is the overall framework document for that transaction, waiving the potential claims against the city in exchange for the purchase of the property. And we expect all of that to be completed in approximately 40 days.
Thank you, Adam. So, Stacy, will you call the roll tonight, please?
Yes. Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Here.
Councilmember Pulapati.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sander. I don't see that he is with us at this time.
Actually, Vice Mayor Sander is joining us remotely if he gets his connection together.
Thank you. And Mayor Budge.
Here. Thank you very much. As we always do, we are going to begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and with an invocation. I will invite you to remain standing.
Recording stopped.
Mayor Budge, can we first do the Metro Cable announcement?
Sure.
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Thursday, April 20th at 9 a.m. and Sunday, April 23rd at 9 a.m. The meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/metrocable14. A DVD copy can also be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you, Stacy. And my phone reminds me that we should all silence our telephones. Thank you. So at this point, we are going to invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led tonight by one of our students who are here at City Hall, named Shatakashi. And we invite you to remain standing for an invocation by Mark Shetler from River City Christian. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Remain standing, please. Let's pray together. Lord God, we pause in the middle of this evening, reminded that we have so much to be grateful for. We thank you for the many blessings that we have, Lord, that we have food and shelter and health, things that we so often take for granted, that we live in a community that is diverse, and there's so much to celebrate as different peoples come together. And we are incredibly grateful that we live in this free land where we can express our opinions, where we can seek to work together, where we can be the people that you have called us to be. And so, God, we ask that you would guide and direct us as a community, that we might together work to make the best community possible for everyone who lives here, everyone who works here, everyone who seeks entertainment in Rancho Cordova. God, thank you for those who serve us as public servants. Lord, we also want to thank you for our first responders and for teachers and for those who invest in the lives of others in our community, and we ask that you would bless them as well. Would you watch over our time together here this evening? We pray it all in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. We always usually have presentations, and tonight we do. Amanda?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I'm Amanda Norton with the Economic Development Department, and this evening I am here and very honored to introduce Lydia Thung. She is the newest member to the Economic Development team, so we have now gone from a mighty team of 2 to a mighty team of 3, and I'll just give her a moment to go ahead and introduce herself this evening.
Good evening, Lydia.
Good evening, everyone. As Amanda said, my name is Lydia Thung. I am just starting week 3 on the economic development team. Prior to working here at the City of Rancho Cordova, I spent about 4 years working for the University of Southern California here in Sacramento, recruiting for a Master's of Public Administration degree program, which I am also going through right now. I'm in my 2nd semester there, so I'm excited to pursue my graduate studies. And prior to working at USC, I was at the Sacramento Asian Chamber of Commerce, working with small businesses and our community partners there. I'm also a resident of Rancho Cordova. I've been here for about 1.5 years, so I'm excited to serve my community and my neighbors. Thank you.
Wonderful, Lydia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Have Amanda. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to public comment. And we have an opportunity for people to address any item that's not on the agenda. If you're here for an item, it is on the agenda, there will be public comment when that item is called. You have 3 minutes to come up and tell us what's on your mind. And if you want to make a public comment via the Zoom or the teleconference, then please use the raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen. And if you're participating by telephone, press *9 to raise your hand. And Stacy will call on you if you're participating in Zoom. So please remember that under the provisions of the California Government Code, if you bring up an item that's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it tonight, but we will direct you to staff or we will schedule it for a future agenda item. So Stacy,
Yes,
people signed up for public comment.
they did. We will start with Daryl Langwell in the council chambers. Following Daryl Langwell will be Kathy Neal. Following Kathy will be Marilyn Metzger, Jill Fellows, and Valerie Knipschild.
Daryl, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Budge and council members. Every day on the news, I keep seeing more and more about the drug problems we're having here in the United States. I see now they're actually putting veterinary tranquilizer in some of the drugs, and the deaths are just getting to be devastating. I was hoping that at some point we might be able to get a member of the police department here that could give us information on what the situation here is in Rancho Cordova. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Good idea.
Kathy Neal.
Welcome, Kathy.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Neal, and I'm from Mobile Country Club. And we're talking about the rent stabilization plan that we've been working on for so long. With me today, I have Mary Van Cleef, Bob Van Cleef's wife.
Hi.
And we just
Welcome.
wanted... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Welcome.
Oh, okay, thank you. And we just wanted to come up here and say thank you for making this all possible and for making Bob's dream finally come true. He's worked really hard, and I'm very honored to be able to take over where he left off, unfortunately, but his dreams come true, and we wanted to thank you for all the help, support, and patience that we all went through on this. And for the family, with Mary and her son, and for our community, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to thank you properly. And also to say, we may not have received everything we wanted, but something is better than nothing at all. And I remember Garrett saying that at our last meeting. But I'm very thankful for all the work we put into it, so we accomplished something. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, Mary and Kathy, it is on our calendar tonight for approval, under consent calendar.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Marilyn Metzger.
Marilyn, welcome.
I'm here as a general statement on all the warehouse projects. The specific and science for every concern we've had have been shared multiple times for multiple projects. The city claims their hands are tied by developer agreements, but the truth is Dermody, GLP, Elliott Holmes, the city attorney, and his developer-friendly law firm aren't really
Ms.
interested in our
Metzger,
facts.
would you be interested in speaking on all three of them? If your comments are about all of them, we do have a couple items on that. You would be welcome to speak twice. Otherwise, your topics are very relevant to a number of items on our agenda. We would welcome your participation in
Marilyn.
both of them.
Next speaker is Jill Fellows.
Welcome, Jill.
I'm going to repeat some that Kathy already said. I just want you to know. I live in Mobile Country Club. I'm Jill Fellows. Good evening, City Council members and staff. Thank you for allowing time for the audience and Zoom participants to speak. I've watched the City Council.
In the past, Adam, we've asked for people who are speaking on consent calendar to speak at this point. So for Kathy and for Jill, this is a good time to do that.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Should I
please.
continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I watched the City Council and the Housing Manager, Stefan Heisler, and his team boldly go where few men and women would dare to go. You knew, I'm speaking to you. You knew the route would not be easy to navigate and that there would be many roadblocks. Even so, you accepted the challenge to several times make the trip through tough, difficult conditions to reach your destination, which was to have rent stabilization in mobile home parks in Rancho Cordova. Addressing rent stabilization or anything like it is huge as it gets. Obstacles are everywhere. Hopefully after tonight, the trip will be for the last time. I reached out to Stefan many times during the process. As rushed as he must have been, he never once flinched. From my vantage point, Stefan is, get ready for this, well-rounded, thoughtful, patient, perceptive, responsible, conscientious person and employee. He communicated with me every time with the open door policy, and he always was open to my thoughts and questions. I do realize I'm repeating here, and thank you to Kathy and the girls. I am so thankful, and I even said this last time, that you chose to work with Bob Van Cleef. Bob was many people all rolled into one. He had high hopes for the future of mobile home parks in general. His fortitude and research never wavered when it came to learning and taking the steps needed to support his forever goal, which was to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And actually, Stefan walked into the room just in time to hear your comments, so we all appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Valerie Knipschild.
Valerie.
Hi, I'm Valerie Knipschild. I live in Stone Creek. Good evening, Mayor Budge, council members, and staff. I would like to recommend the city council approve a section of ad hoc residents to represent districts in Rancho Cordova for the new zoning for their district areas. I also would like to ask that a moratorium be placed on warehouses until it is clearly defined where they should be located. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. That's interesting. That's like the planning advisory councils that the county used to have. That's an interesting idea. Thank you so much.
James Garcia. Following James Garcia will be David Reggers.
James.
Good evening, Council. I'm James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I just really wanted to come here tonight, at least on this topic, is to point out that Administrative Assistance Day is next Wednesday, April 26th. And I just wanted to give my thanks to all of our city staff that fall in that category, especially in the city's clerk's office, such as Stacy and her team. I believe it's Haley and Persephone. So thank you. And then I know there's one more, Kelly, that I personally have at least had some interactions with. So I just want to say thank you for all your hard work in advance, along with all the other departments that have administrative assistants that I personally don't deal with at the moment, but still want to congratulate them on their day. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I'm here for Grace Lutheran Church. We have submitted for a grant to redo our parking lot.
Remind us of your name, please.
David Rogers.
Thank you, David.
And we have supported the community. The church is actually located on the corner of Bonita and Coloma. And it's the parking lot is in pretty bad shape right now, and we really need the help to take care of it. So if you guys can look over that grant, and please be aware that we do hold voting and other AA meetings and stuff like that in the church. So it's not just the church, and there's 2 other churches in that building that meet as well. So thank you very much.
Super. Thank you, David. We continued that discussion to,
We are working on a schedule for that special meeting, and we'll let the applicants and the folks know when that is scheduled. But we're working on second meeting in May is what we're looking for.
okay, great. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
That's all the speaker cards I have for regular public comment. I'm looking at Zoom, and at this time, I do not see any hands that are raised. The city clerk's office did receive written public comment for general public comment, and the emails that we received have been distributed to the city council, placed in the public comment binder in the back of the city council chambers, and have been made available on the city's website. Those comments came from Marilyn Metzger, Kate Carroll, Valerie Knipschild, Tara Kolvenbach, and Paul Carroll.
Super. Thank you, Stacy. So we'll go into council reports. Donald?
I think considering the other topics tonight, I'll go ahead and forego my report.
Okay. Garrett?
Just graduated from American Leadership Forum. Thank you to Class 26. And then that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Siri?
Glad to be back. I will also defer my comments for today. Thank you.
Okay, so you all don't want to know what I've been doing then. So, pardon? Oh, yeah, let's not forget David. David, are you on? David?
I don't see that he has joined us.
Okay. David is trying to join us from St. Louis. He and his high school senior are out touring colleges. So I would say, number one, we have a huge student art exhibit at the MAC at Mill Station, and they did a reception on Friday evening, and they had almost 350 people attending. And the quality of the art is absolutely amazing. So you all should go and see. And the Seroptimus has a very incredible program called See It, Be It, or Dream It, Be It again. Dream It, Be It. And I was asked to go and hand out awards to the young ladies who were graduating for that program. This is just part of what we try to do in Rancho Cordova to encourage people to be the best that they can be. And congratulations to Rancho Cordova for winning a Pro Housing Award from the state of California. And go Kings. Micah.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to quickly highlight the pro-housing designation and thank, Stefan, who already got a few words of encouragement tonight from our community, which we appreciate, but also Ka Vang, who worked on that effort as well. So with that, that's my update for tonight. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so then we're going to go into consent calendar. We have consent calendar items 16.1 through 16.7, and the city clerk needs to pull 16.1 to read a correction.
Would you like me to make that correction now?
Sure.
Okay. For the minutes for the meeting on Thursday, March 30th, 2023, we had a time that was transposed, and the meeting started, which is correct in the minutes, at 5:39 p.m. We had that the meeting adjourned to closed session at 5:25, and that should be 5:52 p.m. So we wanted to make that correction to the minutes, and we will make that update in our record as well.
Super. Thank you, Stacy. So we need a motion for 16.1 through 16.7.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Yes.
Councilmember Pulapati?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sander is absent at this time. Mayor Budge?
Yes, thank you very much. We're going to make one change to the agenda. We have it on item 19.1, which the city attorney talked about earlier, and we're going to take that at this point before we go into the public hearing items.
What?
Sure. So we can handle the property purchase and sale agreement
Yeah.
first before we go into the public hearing.
Yeah.
There's a PowerPoint, I think, to.
We just did.
We have a consent public hearing item, though. 17.1? No, we did consent calendar. We haven't done the public hearing. Point 1.
Okay. Stacy, go ahead and call 17.1,
Would you like me to read the subject?
please.
A resolution vacating a no ingress or egress rights line pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 3, Part 3 of Public Streets, Highways, and Service Easements Vacation Law commencing at Section 8320 of the California Streets and Highways Code 3115 Gold Valley Drive.
Okay, and so for anybody besides me who noticed that the historic monument at the corner of, at that intersection, that commemorates that area around Costco is missing, we are assured by Public Works that the local property owner has saved it, and we will return it to that area when the intersection construction is finished. So we need a motion for 17.1.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Councilmember Pulapati?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sander, I don't believe has joined us yet, but he is trying, is my understanding. And Mayor Budge.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll go to 19.1.
So thank you, Mayor. This item before you was started with earlier tonight with a report out from the city attorney on the settlement agreement that we were entering into with Elliott Homes for the purchase of 42.91 acres in the Stone Creek area for just under $15 million. I will, can you progress to the next slide, please?
And Mayor Budge, I just wanted to make sure that there was no public comment for item 17.1.
Please.
So I did not receive any public comment for that. There was no public comment via Zoom, and I had no speaker cards.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacy. So the city council reported out of closed session on this transaction that includes the property in the Stone Creek area. This purchase agreement that's on the calendar tonight will basically implement the settlement agreement that was agreed to in closed session. This is a market rate transaction, so this is basically purchasing the property at the land value as part of the settlement, and we'll look to in the future find opportunities to utilize this property or recover the investment into this property in the future. And so I think with that, I will actually turn it over to Kim Duran, who will talk a little bit about the funding sources and uses.
Thank you, Micah. Honorable Mayor and Council, Kim Duran, Cara Giorgio, CFO. The purchase price for this property is just under $15 million, included with closing costs. And the recommendation from staff is that this purchase be made from our reserves, and specifically the $20 million set aside general fund assigned fund balance that we've had set aside for the Mills Crossing project. Recommendation is that we utilize $15 million of that towards this. And then we will come back in May at the budget workshop with a proposed reallocation of some funds from other reserves to help backfill the amount of reserve that we need to complete the Mills Crossing project. In addition, any proceeds from the future sale of this property could also be used to go back and replenish our reserves. And just to clarify, this slide, which was shown at the January budget work session, that top green circle, the $20 million, that is the reserve fund that we have identified for the purchase of this property this evening.
Okay. Questions for staff?
Mayor, if I could just add two quick comments. The resolution proposes to approve this agreement as to form. That will allow for us to make minor changes, including such things as adjusting things having to do with liabilities or indemnification or other purely legal issues not material to the terms here. And the closing, we hope and expect will actually be within about 30 days, not 40. I think I misspoke slightly in my report out.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item?
The city clerk's office received 2 written public comments via email from Tara Kolvenbach and Barbara Kropasek. The city clerk's office does not have any public comment cards, and I do not see any hands that are raised via Zoom.
Okay.
I have a question, Kim. So at the future meeting, we're going to be talking about additional ways to finance Mills Crossing. So we're fairly confident at this point that this is not going to be delaying the community center and development process.
Correct. We have some other identified reserves that can help backfill, and then additional Measure H and Measure R, future allocations of H&R, because the timing of which when we will need the funds when the construction actually starts is a couple years down the road, anticipated to be a couple years down the road, so we can use some of those future H&R legacy allocations to also help.
Okay. And this wouldn't have an effect on our conversations around the Little League project or other things that we've been discussing as well?
So there, it could potentially result in some prioritization discussions with regards to all of the projects that have been identified.
I,
So-
Go ahead.
I will just add, this is, probably the edge of what we can kind of take on from a cash position standpoint, and kind of anything additionally will need some further conversation as far as to make the cash flow work for future projects.
Which ones go first when which ones happen in the near future? Okay, thank you.
So questions from Garrett or Siri? Did David make it?
Not yet.
Okay. So are we ready for a motion?
So moved.
David's hand just joined.
David,
He's raising his hand.
great. David, did you have any questions?
And just for the record, Mr. Sander, could you indicate that you heard the item?
Yes, I just heard the majority of the item.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay, so I think Garrett made the motion and Siri seconded it.
Second.
I thought you did.
Adam, did I do it okay? Okay, just making sure.
Okay. Stacy, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Yes.
Councilmember Pulapati?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Mayor Budge?
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to public hearing items. Stacy, will you read 18.1, please?
Yes. Logistics Center at Rancho Cordova, Major Design Review, project number PLND 10210015.
Gentlemen.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Nick Sosa with the Planning Department. Tonight's presentation is for the Logistics Center at Rancho Cordova. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the potential impacts of litigation in the magnitude of $100 million, request direction for staff on the demand to cure, and then we will provide a brief summary of the project and additional conditions of approval that have been agreed to as of the March 6th meeting. Then at the conclusion of the presentation, staff will request detailed direction to prepare documents for final action on May 15th. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager to discuss the fiscal impacts of the potential litigation.
Thank you, Nick, and I'm actually going to ask the city attorney to talk a little bit about the reconsideration in this item that is back before the council real quick.
Sure, just a reminder that there was a vote by the city council at the end of a meeting just to schedule this item for discussion and possible action here tonight. Under the city's procedural rules that were adopted shortly after its incorporation, a motion to reconsider any action that's taken by the council can be made at any time, and such a motion must be made by one of the prevailing side, but may be seconded by any member, and may be made at any time. And what essentially a motion to reconsider does is it wipes the prior motion off the table. So if that, it wipes a prior action off the table if a motion is made and then the action and adopted, then the action would be, the posture of this would be back the way it was before the motion was made on March 6th. And then the council would be able to consider other possible direction on the project.
So,
Thank you, Adam.
do you want?
So
do you want
I
us-
have a few things to kick off the conversation, and then I'll hand it off to to Kim with some follow-up, and then I think we'll go into the presentation itself from Nick Sosa on the update on the current project. So this project and other similar projects have been a difficult conversation with legal, financial, and community conflict and consequences. And ultimately, it is my responsibility as a city manager to evaluate and present the options and impacts of various decisions to the council for their consideration, and to keep the city's fiscal health and thriving financial position that the city has long had. Ultimately, we have heard from both our legal counsel and additional outside CEQA and land use attorney firm of the likely high liability and risk of adverse judgment if we were to continue to deny this project, and also announced a $100 million potential liability at a report out from closed session. We have also heard very legitimate concerns from the residents in the Stone Creek neighborhood about the impact of these projects that were approved for this use 20 years ago as part of the County of Sacramento. The residents will also likely move forward in the challenge if we move forward with the approval as well. Either through project design and additional conditions of approval, alternative solutions, we have tried to address some of those issues. Those concerns expressed have ultimately led us to try to find ways to reduce the total number of warehouse projects in this area, and ultimately move forward with the purchase of 42 plus acres as part of the transaction that we approved earlier tonight, limiting the perspective of square footage by almost half of the potential Stone Creek neighborhoods. However, there are still some very real and large financial concerns that denying a project can have on the fiscal well-being and services we provide as the city of Rancho Cordova. The citywide financial impact would be felt immediately and for the foreseeable future, possibly over the next couple of decades, given the size and magnitude. We have reviewed and received facts and information from both the community representatives and the developer representatives on these issues. We've had outside legal team review the law and case law, and was also reviewed by our own city attorney staff and team, and researched the rights provided for these projects. And upon that review, the developer potentially would have a good argument in this case. And so I am very concerned about the impact of an adverse judgment that could have on basic services for the city of Rancho Cordova. Services like public safety and infrastructure that we provide for the entire community. And understand that there's risk involved in things that we do, and heard from the community on some of those items tonight. As a reminder, this is a design review application only, not a decision of use. The use had already been decided as part of the special planning area invested in the development agreement, which we have concluded is valid. Sacramento County approved zoning before we were a city. Property rights were given in 2003 to the property owners and those who would potentially buy them. The city is bound by the zoning code. The city did not recruit or incentivize any of these potential projects, and were not encouraged in any way. It is in the best interest of the city to review and condition these projects based on the design review application. And so with that, I will give it over to Kim to talk a little bit more about the financial impacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah. So the cost in the immediate budget and forthcoming years, the cost to fight the litigation, to pay for the litigation was estimated to be approximately $2 million a year. That would impact our budget immediately, and that would have an immediate impact on our ability to grow and expand our services in the next 2-year budget that we are currently developing. And looking further, if a $100 million judgment were to be decided against the city, it would significantly alter the city's financial position for the next 1 to 2 decades. In order to pay a judgment of that amount, the city would likely have to issue something called judgment obligation bonds. And these are bond issuances that are typically repaid over a 10 to 15-year window. And depending on the interest rates at the time those bonds were issued, the annual debt service payment could be anywhere in the range of $10 to $13 million annually out of the general fund, which would be significant. It would definitely restrict our ability to expand services down the road, and that would go on for 10 to 15 years. Next slide, please. So what that means above and beyond what I just mentioned is that all of the projects that have been previously discussed over the past couple of years with regards to legacy projects, many of those would have to be reevaluated and would no longer be feasible given a judgment of this magnitude.
Briefly, during the direction on the March 6th hearing, the mayor clarified that the effect of that action was to provide staff with direction to prepare findings of denial for consideration at a future council meeting. The council received a letter claiming that there was a violation of the Brown Act. The city does not agree with that, and without admission, the item that's scheduled here tonight for consideration, the reconsideration would fully cure and correct even that alleged violation, and we will be prepared to provide the council with any additional direction they may need on that procedural issue.
Okay. So, staff report?
So,
Nick?
just to quickly go through the project that's currently under review, the original project. The applicant is requesting a major design review for 155,040 square feet of in-shell industrial building. The property is zoned business professional, which allows for both uses under the BP and MP use table. Wholesaling warehousing is listed as a permitted use under the MP table. Because the use is permitted by right, council's discretion is limited to the design of the building. Here is the most current site plan with Bear Hollow Drive to the east and North Mather to the south. The project site has 3 points of access, one on North Mather, 2 on Bear Hollow. One of the access points is a truck access along Bear Hollow with a modified driveway to restrict truck movements from traveling north up Bear Hollow of the project site. Project also includes a 12-foot screen wall and building pop-out to better screen the loading area. This is a current landscape plan that was presented on March 6th, increased density along Bear Hollow and North Mather for additional screening. Over the course of the project, the applicant has also increased the number of trees as well as the initial size of the trees to provide increased screening at installation. These are the current elevations that were also presented on March 6th. The elevations include second-story glass windows, additional roof articulation, additional vertical siding to all elevations, as well as a blue accent color throughout the facade. This is a rendering of the intersection of North Mather and Bear Hollow. This rendering includes mature landscaping. This is an additional rendering along Bear Hollow at the truck access point on Bear Hollow. This rendering also includes mature landscaping. These were additional conditions of approval that were presented on March 6th. These conditions include limitations on hours of operation for truck movements, new screen wall at Dabina Court, and other conditions regarding electric vehicle infrastructure and vehicle idling. Now I'll turn it over to Albert for the conditions regarding traffic.
Good evening, Mayor Budge and members of the council. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. So a few additional traffic associated conditions of approval would include that non-passenger and commercial vehicles shall utilize North Mather for ingress and egress. And non-passenger and commercial vehicles shall not be permitted to use Bear Hollow north of the project site, nor Air Park Drive, Spoto Drive, Baroque Drive, or other residential neighborhood roads. And right turn only signage would be added to the truck exits on Bear Hollow to direct them to North Mather. The project would also be conditioned to install bulb outs at 3 intersections on Bear Hollow Drive, those being Avernotte, Robola, and Air Park, and they're examples of what that treatment would look like at Avernaut and Robola, and a similar treatment would be installed on Air Park.
Thank you, Albert. These here are additional conditions that have been agreed to since the March 6th meeting. These were provided to staff at the March 6th meeting and are recommendations from the California Attorney General for the project. These conditions include providing adequate truck parking on site, on-site amenities for truck drivers, and a formal truck routing plan designed to ensure safe routes to school. The project has been reviewed and determined to be in conformity with the original EIR for the village's Zinfandel Special Planning Area and is exempt from further CEQA review pursuant to Section 15183, projects consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning. And with that, council could do the following. Motion to reconsider March 6th direction and alleged action. Direct staff to return at a later city council meeting with final action documents, and direct the applicant to make additional design modifications to the proposed project. And staff is available for questions as well as the applicant.
Thank you, Nick. So, questions for the staff or the applicant? Donald?
I'd like to hear public comment before I'll ask any questions.
Garrett?
Same.
Siri? David?
Same.
Okay. Then we'll take public comment.
Okay, I'll start with the speaker cards that I have received for those here in the council chambers. And if there's any who would like to speak who are in the overflow room as well, feel free to bring your speaker cards to the council chambers. Frank Hall will be our first speaker. Daryl Langwell. I wanted to ask Marilyn Metzger, do you want to speak under item 18.1? Yes, okay. And Marilyn, you'll be speaker number 3.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Frank.
Mayor Budge, members of the council. My name is Frank Hall. I am a resident of Rancho, Cordova, and I come before you this evening to make a statement regarding the items on tonight's agenda, specifically the Logistics Center. I am interpreting this announcement to say that the city may potentially reverse its March 6th decision and change a previous vote to deny the project into a new vote to approve it. Over several weeks ago, you heard from your constituents who publicly presented their concerns about the impacts of the Logistics Center. As a result, on March 6th, a 3-member majority listened to and aligned their vote with residents of our city, and this is what representative governance is all about. At that council meeting following the vote, we publicly recognized and thanked the council for this action. Tonight, we are notified of the potential to reverse the March 6th decision. We cannot imagine how our elected officials will consider such action. The residents have not changed their positions. The concerns of health, traffic, and noise impacts have not changed. For the city to take an action contrary to our concerns is at best a breach of trust. But the optics of such an action conjures up speculation and concern about other factors that may affect a future vote. These optics often influence voters far more than campaign slogans and talking points. Voters throughout the state and the nation are rejecting incumbents when this trust has been broken. We placed our trust in you several weeks ago to listen to our concerns and represent our voices, and you came through. We are requesting that you continue to uphold the will of your voters, the residents who have been engaged in this public dialogue for over a year. We ask that you continue to deny the Logistics Center project design changed as proposed, consistent with your March 6th vote. The adverse impacts on the health and safety of your constituents remain, and we ask that you vote again to demonstrate your commitment to us, our children and grandchildren here in Rancho Cordova. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Frank. Daryl?
Good evening again, Mayor Budge, City Council members, Daryl Langwell from the Vineyards community. There have been many comments about this project being detrimental to a localized portion of the city. It appears that litigation is very likely concerning this project. The City Council is elected to represent the entire city, not just one portion. litigation will affect the entire city. I hope the city council will explore all options and follow the path that is in the whole city's best financial interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Marilyn?
Spontaneous speech happening here. My name's Marilyn Metzger. I'm a resident of Stone Creek, and for the last year, I feel like myself and my neighbors have been pushing a rock uphill. We don't feel like we have been given the respect, consideration for our investment in this city. I moved here from Santa Cruz to retire. I bought my dream house from Elliott. I expect to live here until I die, and that is not going to be the case now. We haven't had a chance, starting with the beginning of the first project out, which was Bold Beauty. Nobody was notified. It was a done deal because it was approved 3 days after COVID went in, the lockdown happened. Nobody had any idea about that. We put in our input. I don't know how the planning department ever approved a transportation center that had semis going in and out without truck parking, truck trailer parking, which is what Dermody has on their properties. Every single one on their website does not say truck parking. It says trailer stalls. So make sure that they are going to provide the truck parking. That is the benefit to the driver, which is what I spoke on last time. I feel like we have been fighting uphill against an attorney who works for the most prestigious developer advocate in the state. Look on their website and see what they credit themselves with. They are biased towards the focus that they've had their entire careers, which is development, build it, make it happen. We can't fight that. Get a second opinion, get an EIR, get a CEQA, get a second opinion from an attorney who's not a prosecutor, but does defendants. We need somebody that is on our side fighting for us. Thank you to the 3 that did. I'm sorry it didn't stick. It gave me hope in this process and in this government, but I'm pretty discouraged that developers with the most money and the most profit-making ability are the ones who are winning here. You're going to lose your residents. Look at the majority of the people here. They're senior citizens. We didn't intend to end up like this.
The next speaker is James Garcia. Following James will be Sarah Malone. Following Sarah will be Valerie Knipschild and Eric Weiniger.
Welcome, James.
Good evening, Council. I'm James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I've written and spoken on the Logistics Center project since it was brought forth before the City Council for major design review on April 18th, 2022. And I pointed out many times in areas of concern. Of course, the development agreement has been a major part of that discussion, along with many other areas such as the design itself not matching the Z-SPA's intentions to bring forth a cohesive neighborhood that is free from visual, auditory, and harmful air quality issues. It has been pointed out that the city needs to have these types of buildings within the city to bring more jobs. I want to share some information about the jobs or lack of jobs these types of projects could bring to the city. Looking further at the Z-SPA's intentions of having a neighborhood that is designed to have a live, work, and play capability, by bringing this project that is being proposed would not aid in that ability. Given the average wages earned by warehouse workers in California is only $17.36 per hour, and if you happen to live in Los Angeles, then you earn $17.73 per hour. These numbers come from Indeed.com, along with several other websites. In 2019, the latest year for United Way's data, 2 adults would need to work full-time, earning $22 an hour to make a living wage for a family of 4. How would a family be able to afford a living wage, let alone afford to purchase a home in the neighborhood when the average wages are between the state's minimum wage of $15.50 per hour and the living wage? According to Realtor.com, in May 2021, the median listing home price in Rancho Cordova was $429.9 thousand, turning up 3% year over year. These prices for the entire city do not allow the average warehouse worker to afford to purchase a home in the neighborhood they'd be working in. Warehouse workers are at least 8 times more likely to suffer back problems than other workers, according to the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Do we want to have our workforce have lifelong health issues? Not only are the jobs under the living wage and at a higher risk of health issues, but there will be fewer of them. There are a multitude of research studies that point towards the automation of warehouses within the next 25 years, effectively displacing our workforce. One such was footwear company Skechers. For example, it employed 550 people at a sprawling new warehouse in Moreno Valley, but that operation replaced 5 facilities in Ontario, California that formerly employed 1,200, over half. We were told these projects would bring more jobs to our neighborhood, yet all the data points to a reduced labor as a future becomes automated. I also have provided several links, articles for it.
Please
you
wrap up your
mentioned
comments.
this is a major design review project, and as such, it still is able to be denied based on those designs set forth in the Z-SPA, regardless of any implementation concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Sarah?
Hello again, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and city staff. I'm here tonight to speak on CEQA. Although opinions differ on this, we have attorneys and other legal opinions that believe that this project is not exempt from CEQA. CEQA requires a public agency to consider whether a project's effects, while limited on their own, are cumulatively considerable and therefore significant. Cumulatively considerable means that the incremental effects of an individual project are considerable when viewed in connection with the effects of past projects, the effects of other current projects, and the effects of probable future projects. This requires a lead agency to determine whether pollution from a proposed project, together with any pollution the community is already exposed to or will be exposed to, will be significant. The hundreds of trucks that will now use Infidel will create a significant cumulative impact on numerous sensitive receptors. There's no mention of this in the EIR that is being used for this project. The city at times acknowledges and at other times downplays the project's close proximity to sensitive receptors. But there is no question the project is surrounded by sensitive receptors. Children play outdoors at the parks and the school that are downwind from this project. The new Goddard School has placed their recess area less than 100 feet to Zinfandel Drive, where the trucks will pass by emitting diesel particulates. The new senior residents of the apartments being built will also be vulnerable to these particulates. I cannot grasp how the city can continue to ignore these requirements of CEQA, and I find it irresponsible of the city attorney to guide you to do so. Just as you brought in outside counsel to provide advice pertaining to the developer agreement, we propose you do so for the CEQA exemption. Only this time, our community requests you use an environmental consultant to prepare a comprehensive CEQA consistency analysis under Public Resources Code Section 21083.3, CEQA Guidelines Section 15183 and 15168 to thoroughly examine the prior environmental review with which the project is quote-unquote consistent and ensure that there is no substantial new information that was not known when the prior environmental documents were certified. Thank you.
Sarah? Valerie?
Hi, I'm Valerie from Stone Creek. Good evening, Mayor Budge, council members, and city staff. I had being retired, you can do anything you want, anytime. So I was going to the gym, and this warehouse thing has taken over my life, mentally and physically. I decided to go to West Sacramento and see the Dermody project, which he told us a while back that the residents there were all for it. They agreed for it. It's right in their neighborhood, D. I went out there and I rode around the facility. You'll see my car, my face. And it looked pretty vacant to me. I looked on the website. They said a third of it was full. No trucks there. Not like GLP that has trucks there 24/7. I stood at the corner, which is close to the river, of the building, and I saw the housing development. It looked far away, very far away. So then I went into the housing development and looked at Dermody's building. It was far away. I took Google Map Pros and measured it. It's a half a mile away. It's not near the residents like these buildings that he's putting in this neighborhood, right across the street from our houses. I also calculated how much one truck would go through North Mather, Bear Hollow, North Mather to Zinfandel to Highway 50. It's 2.42 miles one way, and that's 5,000 miles. 5,000 miles for a month that is going to tear up our streets with these semi-trucks. In the section, zoning code, Zinfandel Special Planning Area, section 512-210F. The special planning area will provide reasonable use of land and not cause undue hardship to the property owners. Putting these warehouses, logistics center, and all their trucks and the traffic from their employees is gonna cause me undue hardship. I live at that corner that's open. You're gonna put a 6-foot wall, sound, noise, exhaust, diesel exhaust emissions have no boundaries. It'll still kill us. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Eric?
Eric Weiniger, and then following Eric will be Jennifer Garcia and Paul Carroll.
Good evening, everyone. Eric Weiniger. I sympathize with Valerie talking about how things have taken over her life. I wake up many times in the middle of the night thinking of nice, interesting things to say and lots of facts. Mayor Budge, you talked about hearing too many facts. I try and balance between heart and head, and sometimes one can dominate versus the other. This time I'm going to talk more about the heart side of things. The next one, I'll talk more about facts. Sorry. The thing that I kept on hearing and reading in some of the Dermody lawyer opinions and letters, threatening letters about rights. And it just occurs to me, you know, when you have a right, you also have a responsibility. And I don't see much in the terms of responsibility. Sure, they'll talk about how we improve the city and stuff. To me, coming into a city and building in it should be a privilege, not a right. They should, building walking paths, bike paths in there should be inherent in any design in a neighborhood. Why does the city need to pay by releasing themselves of control over their future to have things like that? Nice medians down the street, trees lining the street. Oh, that's all great. But what did we all give up to have those amenities? Well, what you gave up is the control over your future, our future. And so I look at the difference is the domain of control. What things do we have control here? Well, we have control over the colors and configurations of the buildings and the tree size. Wow, that's really impressive. Whereas the other side talks about they control our health, hearth, and quality of life by building these buildings that are known to produce high levels of air quality effects. And I'm not just talking, supposed. You know, we've been disparaged that we're talking nonsense. Well, these are facts. I can cite you up and down many references that talk about the impact of PM 2.5, diesel particulate matter, et cetera. I'm running out of time. So I ask you to consider the rights versus responsibilities. Does might make right? It sure seems like it's coming up to that right here now. And how are we going to teach our children about that? How are we going to accept the responsibility that because we're threatened by adverse circumstances that we bent over and accepted something that's going to be harmful to our community? And if it's harmful to one part of our community, it's harmful to all of our community. Because those trucks, they spew their pollution all up and down the road, not just directly from downwind of these buildings, as they drive up and down Zinfandel and any other road. So please consider the rights versus responsibility concept and whose rights are dominant here. Are
Please
the
wrap up
rights
your comments.
of the developer or it's the rights of the community? Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Jennifer?
Hi, good evening. Jennifer Garcia, Stone Creek resident. First off, I just want to say many times I've seen the council members recuse themselves for voting and being part of certain things. Obviously, it's not possible for all of City Council to recuse yourself as you've all received funds from Elliott Homes and other developers. So I don't know how we move on here because you can't all recuse yourself. But I'd also like to, so I'm just trying to look at my notes and make them a little bit bigger. Eyes are going here. Point out that I haven't heard anything about working with the developers to go to another location, to find another suitable place that is not in our residence. Rancho Cordova has a lot of empty lands, a lot of empty plots. I think if we could come to the table and meet somewhere, it would really help us out a lot. But my last point is going to be, we've talked about design review, we've talked about the diesel matter. We've mentioned to you guys many times that the Attorney General says that you can't have things like this within 1,000 feet of people that would be affected by the diesel matter. And that is our school at Navigator. And so I was looking before the meeting to pull up some facts and just kind of looking at our school and the kids that go there. And I found out that out of the 379 children enrolled in Navigator School, 41.7% are considered socially economic advantage. We have 7.4 children that are homeless, 16.4% of students with disabilities, and 0.03% that are in foster youth homes. And so they're really considered socially disadvantaged. And so I'm always going to go back and speak for the kids, and I hope that you really consider what you are doing to the kids at Navigator School that are possibly already coming from low-income families, that are not going to have the medication or the ability to pay for medication or things like that from asthma and other illnesses that come from what you are going to put into the toxic zone and the winds that are going to blow into their school. I've heard nothing to protect the children, air filters going in better there for the kids, anything like that. So I really wish that you would work the developer to find a more suitable location outside of our homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Paul?
Following Paul will be Ken Cooley.
Welcome, Paul.
Good evening, Paul Carroll with Stone Creek. Mine is a more, perhaps tactical question. I heard in the presentation about additional traffic associated with conditions of use. Non-passenger and commercial vehicles shall not be permitted to use Bear Hollow north of the project site, Airport Drive, Spotto Drive, Baroque Drive, or other residential neighborhood roads. Declaring that they are not permitted hardly stops them from using it. So I wonder what the enforcement will be and whether it will be active enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Good question. Ken? Welcome, Ken.
Good evening, colleagues. I'm pleased to be here yet again. I often feel I'm sort of channeling just the city's history, sometimes my own history. I have a very big concern about functioning as one city, providing jobs to the entirety of our residents, including our low and moderate income residents. To sit here, pretty much 46 years ago this month, Sydney and I moved in to one of those duplexes on Mill Station, right away from just 50 yards from Mather Boulevard. So I definitely have always had an interest in that neighborhood. And I take note that when we were in 2002 and we were looking at cityhood, we had traffic studies done for the city. And if you go back and look at those traffic studies, we don't have the traffic that we projected in 2002. It's actually lower than it was. It was even lower in 2011 when we had the Spinnaker study, the economic study that was done for us by Rod Stevens. So we're not where we thought we'd be even now in traffic when this project was conceived. I keep coming back to this idea. We have built the road to support greater mobility than we ever had when the city started. We've built the bike trails that will permit people to get to and from these jobs on a bike if they want. That's a good green thing. We have so many of our low and moderate income residents that are a bike's ride away, a couple of miles, from the logistics center specifically. I do think, going back to that history, I remember when John Kennedy was assassinated. One of the memorable things I learned that he said at that time, even though I was a little kid, was to govern is to choose. And so I do recognize that acting on behalf of the entire community and trying to look at all the facts, recognize that we do have this tremendous legacy of fiscal prudence. You know, Jerry Brown, State of the State, writing me a note in 2014 saying, Ken, we're going to need some of that Rancho Cordova fiscal prudence this year. That was also what the Bee wrote about at a time of instability, that we had this great fiscal prudence of Rancho Cordova to protect us at a downturn. I do think that paramount value of prudence, of governing for the whole community, bringing jobs to the whole community, this is very profound. And I do understand that there is disagreement around the community, but I'm just looking at it through the lens of why I supported cityhood and growing as one community for the entirety of the community to improve the economic opportunity for all. I actually do think this is a good month to move this forward. It's a companion to Kids Day. You know, we are very concerned with Kids Day with low and moderate income kids. Supporting their parents in work is a good companion to that idea. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else?
Those are the speaker cards that I had, and I'm going to now go into Zoom. So we're going to start with Selena Wong. Selena, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. Following Selena will be Diego.
Welcome, Selena.
Hi, thank you. Mayor Budge and members of City Council, my name is Selena Wong, and I live in the Stone Creek neighborhood. Regarding reopening the discussion about Logistics Center project, after your vote for denial on March 6th meeting, I'm very concerned that the specter of lawsuits is overshadowing the very serious health and safety concerns raised by me and other residents of this community. It's not necessary to review the increased risk for lung cancer, respiratory conditions, and heart attacks that diesel exhaust particles pose to the people in this community. If this project and other similar projects in the area were not bringing such pollutants to this area, the focus on design specifications would be welcome. I wouldn't have any issue. However, it seems to me that being forced to focus on design when these health and safety concerns are so dominant is analogous to a driver following GPS directions to drive over a bridge that has been washed out. And there are multiple signs along the way telling you that the bridge is washed out, but you don't stop and turn around. In the March 6th meeting, Councilmember Polipati shared in writing her concerns for the impact that the lawsuits will have on the community. And as we heard earlier today, as a resident, I'm similarly concerned. But there is no recourse if we drive off that bridge into murky, toxic water. In my professional life, I also must manage costs. But my primary directive is first, do no harm, even if it may be more costly than planned. I'm not allowed to put financial interests at the expense of health risk, and you wouldn't want me to do that in my job as a healthcare professional. But I've also learned that costs are a point in time. Things do change. You can find ways to mitigate costs, especially if health and safety are at risk. We all want a thriving Rancho Cordova that is friendly to both business and community. From where I sat at the March 6th meeting, the vote was to encourage the developer to work with you and the community to find a better location. So why not incentivize these developers to repurpose and recycle existing locations that do not impact a growing community in all the ways that cannot be mitigated? Why is this not a feasible path forward? Why is the developer willing to go after the city financially rather than work with all to find a win-win? Thank you.
Thank you, Selena. And
Next speaker is Diego. Diego, you have been unmuted and you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak.
welcome, Diego. We can't hear,
Hi, can
we
you-
can't hear Diego, ladies and
Can you hear
gentlemen.
me
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Again, my name is Diego Hernandez, and I'm a third-generation member of the Labor Union. I have worked as a laborer for 18 years now. I entered through the Labor's Apprenticeship Program. Labor's Local 185 represents over 2,300 hardworking men and women in Sacramento County, including members from Rancho Cordova. I saw through the video, some of my brothers and sisters are there in Orange. Couldn't make it tonight, but I'm here in solidarity to support the project. This project will bring much needed jobs to the local area, jobs with a livable wage, benefits, and opportunity to earn a pension, health insurance, not only for the workers, but for our families as well. Most of us, as I am tonight, have long commutes to and from work. It's not uncommon to travel multiple hours a day to surrounding cities to search for work that's available. The travel has taken a toll on my health and my family. Projects close to home gives my brothers and sisters an opportunity to spend more quality time with our families and more time supporting our local economy. The developer, Dormity Properties, has been a proven partner, not only to the labor union, but to communities like this one throughout Northern California. We value our relationship and are confident that this project will not only give members of this community an opportunity to a local construction career, but to long-term jobs well after the construction is over in the facility. So once again, we ask that you support and move forward with the Bear Hollows Logistics Center project. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Anybody else?
The next speaker is Davis. Davis, I have unmuted you and you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak.
Davis, welcome.
Hi, good morning, council members, Mayor Butch. I just wanted to, I live in Stone Creek. I've spoke before with you guys via Zoom. This is Stephen Davis. Lisa Davis is my wife. We both live in Stone Creek here off of Bear Hollow. Actually, Bear Hollow backs up to the back of our house. So any trucks that would go down this road, we will definitely be hearing that, smelling that, seeing that, and that is something that we would like to avoid. I too am a union member. I believe in a good union brotherhood and sisterhood, but I also do believe that this situation is construction related as a part to what the union member before spoke about. This is all this is just construction. It's just going to be construction. Once it's done, they move on. Unfortunately, that is the way construction works. So driving to and from a job in the Bay Area for your local union is part of the job. I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it, and I chose a different route through my unionship, and now I get to come home every single day to Stone Creek, which is not so much of a place that I want to be living because of this new project. I would also like to commend Councilmember Garrett Gatewood. You, sir, were the first to speak up on behalf of the residents of your area. You, sir, were the one who decided to tell everybody that you have to do what your bosses ask you to do. You listen to the bosses, and the bosses happen to be the members of your community. And I'm not here to tell you that I'm your boss or anything like that, or we are your boss, but I can appreciate what you did for us. I can appreciate the words that came out of your mouth. I can appreciate what you said about, you're probably the only one, you have a couple people who are against about what you're about to say. We all appreciate that. All the Stone Creek members were elated by what came out of your mouth, sir. And I thank you for that. I wanted to personally thank you for that. Everybody else, you all agreed to this. You all agreed. You all went through, and then suddenly something changed. And that change was money. Money changed everything. Once you found out it's going to be $100 million or $2 million a year, that all changed. I get it. Money is not readily accessible nowadays, especially the economy is pretty horrible. We all know this. But please, please, please don't fall back on your ability to take care of the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Davis. Anybody else?
There are no additional speakers via Zoom. I did receive a few comments via email. Those have been distributed to the City Council, made available in the public comment binder in the back of the council chambers, and are also available on the city's website. Those came from Eileen Sedilko, Don Davison, Jennifer Garcia, Sarah Malone, Crystal Huckleberry, Michael Phelan, James Garcia, Michael Huckleberry, and Barbara Krow-Pasek.
Thank you, Stacy. So I think our first item is to deal with the question of reconsideration. Okay. So we did have a request at the last meeting from David and from Siri to reconsider the motion. So I would ask if one of them wants to speak to that.
Are there any other council comments? Otherwise, I can jump in.
Donald, Garrett?
Can you hear
Siri?
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Go ahead, David.
Okay. Sorry, the audio is a little limited here. I think it's just hotel bandwidth, so I apologize for that in advance. If I cut out, someone wave or give me a clue. So I want to thank all the residents, everyone who testified tonight for their comments. I'm really proud of how Rancho Cordova is handling this very difficult situation. You don't have to look far into other jurisdictions and see a lot of chaos around controversy. And we have not had that. And I think that says a lot about the character of our community. So I want to thank you all for that. You make really great comments, very thoughtful comments, and it makes us all think. It makes our jobs harder, but I think it probably makes our decisions better as well. So I also want to thank the staff. You've put in an unbelievable amount of time on this topic for the past, I guess, over a year. You know, in the end, I think nobody wants this use at this site, probably except for the proponent. Maybe a few others, but the vast majority of people we've heard from would probably rather not have this here. And some of the people now who are in favor of the use at this site, I think from elsewhere in the city, are worried about the implications. And I guess that's all understandable. But I think it's important to say that I don't know if anybody, you know, actually is in favor of this use. There were some questions tonight. I'll make a few comments here and I'll try to address some of the comments that were made. We did look, at my suggestion, we looked at other locations. We could not find any acceptable to the proponent for other locations in Rancho Cordova, and that mainly had to do with time frame. So, Jennifer, I want to thank you for your comments about kids and the impact on kids. I think that always has to be something that we have to hold up, and of course, the consequences for decisions like this are pretty big. I think, colleagues, we've probably had more comments on this topic, this issue of warehouses in this community than we've ever had on any other project in the entire history of the city. I don't even think it's close at this point. We've heard comments about CEQA. We've heard comments about traffic and the truck impacts. We've heard comments about the validity of the development agreement that was made 20 years ago. We've heard so much comments and had so many controversies. We even went out and got second opinions from lawyers, not our own, but from outside lawyers who looked at CEQA and looked at the truck impacts and looked at the traffic and looked at the validity of the DA and on internal review and external review and different layers of internal and external review. The lawyers are all telling us the same thing. We've gotten evaluations now on the lawsuits, including you know, what the impacts might be. So I'm just going to take a little aside for the people in the room and the people online who are watching. You know, this job of being a city council member is tough. It is routinely and regularly tough. There are enormous demands on our time and our city's resources and our staff's ability to pursue things that vary very, very widely, way outside of just you know, planning in any individual neighborhood or any individual project or any individual thing that the city is pursuing. Very, very broad demands. And we're often called on to make tough decisions, and that's okay. We were all elected to do that. The worst of these decisions are the ones that are lose-lose. So you got to decide between a loss or a loss. And that, frankly, is how I've described this particular decision. There are real impacts. There are real impacts with regard to decisions like this. And the litigation impacts here are potentially enormous. Not just the litigation cost itself or the settlement of the litigation, but the impact that just having litigation would have on our budget, our bond rating, our ability to do basic services, let alone continue the good work that we've become known for elsewhere, the projects that benefit thousands of our kids. There's an estimate now of 100 million that's been made public. I can tell you here, if you extrapolate that to other sites with similar questions, you can start multiplying that number. And so it isn't just potentially what was stated by staff, it is a multiple of what was stated by staff. We also have litigation potential from not only developers here, but large-scale developers in our community, other property owners, and other ancillary litigation. So the very unfortunate conclusion I've got to reach, neighbors, is that they've got us. For all practical purposes, this DA is valid. And while I'm opposed to this use at this site, and I would not approve it, we are limited to a design-only review. The odds of winning litigation here are very small. The immediate costs are very high to do that. It's not a good combination. There's also a 60-day clock that is running and requires that we reach a final decision. And basically that clock has run out. So to put it in terms that I heard tonight, is this justice? No, definitely not. Is this logical? These are answers from our community's point of view. Is it logical? Nope, not very logical. Is this the law? Is it legal? It appears so. It looks like this is the law. Is it the right thing to do for me or for us? Nope. But Eric, I think you said might versus right. And this is a might question. So for all practical purposes, from my point of view, the DA is valid. If we litigate it, it will probably be found to be valid. That means that we have a design-only consideration and that we should, under all these other pressures and contingencies, reconsider our previous denial. So I would move to reconsider our previous denial.
I will second that motion. Call the roll, please, Stacy.
Vice Mayor Sander,
Aye.
Mayor Budge,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulapati,
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood,
Hell no.
Councilmember Terry,
Aye.
Thank you very much. So is there a motion to bring it back tonight to discuss an additional?
I'd like to make a comment before we move on to, or actually, one, to ask a question and then a couple of comments on the item now that we're beyond the reconsideration. A member of the public, or I think that was actually Attorney Smith, if I'm not mistaken, that commented or shared some comments about the lack of review of the residents' threat of litigation. So could the city attorney, one, your review of their threat of litigation and Hanson Bridget's review, because there was suggestion that we should hire another attorney to evaluate their arguments. Has that been reviewed?
Yes, it has. We've reviewed every letter that we've received from their attorney's office. And we, at this point, is a team, not just of myself, but of CEQA litigators, of land use litigators, of land use counsel, all of whom work primarily for public agencies and for the public, not for private entities. And also, we gave every letter that we had received from Ms. Smith and any attorney to Hanson Bridget, and they reviewed that. So yes, Hanson Bridget did specifically review the arguments that Ms. Smith had made as of the date of their opinion, including arguments on both the validity of the DA and on the CEQA exemption being applicable.
Thank you. So just to reiterate some things that my colleague, Mr. Sander, mentioned, and also that I've mentioned in previous meetings. I share the same frustration with this project and with this developer and the use here. And if there were alternatives, I would gladly support them. But I'll say what I said last time. Voting no or denying this project does not prevent it. It'll only delay it. We will lose all of the other design features that we negotiated over the last year through staff and work, whether it's larger trees, whether it's design features, ingress, egress, off-site traffic mitigations that we did in front of the school, or that the developer is going to pay for in front of the school, and a lot of other things. Those would all go out the window. We would pay their legal fees. We would pay damages well above, it's sounding like 10 million on this one, setting up precedent for a myriad of other ones to come. And they're going to build it anyways. We've had 2 attorney firms, because our city attorney is also a representative and a partner in a law firm. And another independent has no business in front of this city at all to give us another opinion that evaluated all sides and told us, if we deny this, we'll lose. And they'll still build it. And to be frank, and I don't necessarily know this, but my assumptions would be, if you're going to build it anyways and get your tenants and get your rents, and you're going to sue us for all of the losses that you took during the time that you couldn't build it, you're probably going to make more money suing us and us denying it and getting it anyways than if we just approved it. And we don't lose the money. So again, I'm not a fan of this project. I've never wanted to support this project. But at the end of the day, I also admit I cannot stop this project. And so with that, I'm still in the exact same position that I was before. And while I've read every email and listened to every voicemail and listened to every post I've gotten on social media about this project, that still doesn't mean that I have the power to stop it.
Yeah. Donald, unfortunately, you're right. So we need a motion to bring this back tonight for further direction to staff.
Yeah, so let me just confirm where we are procedurally. So procedurally, the motion that was made before on March 6th has been eliminated by your adoption of the motion to reconsider. And now the council can provide alternative direction to staff on how to proceed. And when you were last debating this item on March 6th, you were debating whether or not to provide direction to staff to prepare findings of denial, or to staff to provide findings to approve. And then We would ask that any findings that you provide, any direction you provide to staff be direction to come back with those findings and resolution for action, not be until your second meeting in May to give adequate time to prepare those documents.
The 15th of May.
Mr. City Manager, do you have any further clarification?
No, but I think just wanted to address some of the comments that I've heard and kind of the different conversations. And one of the things that I think that the opportunity that we are taking to invest a substantial amount of dollars into the purchase of one of these properties that's closest to the elementary school. Some of those efforts and things, we're doing our work in order to mitigate as many of those concerns that we legally could have. And as we pursue those opportunities and what happens next with that property is something that will very much be a part of future conversations. The other, I heard some comments around enforcement and different activities around what we can do in enforcement. And enforcement is definitely within our lane of rights and approvals. And so when we think about any projects moving forward, there's lots of things that we can consider, and I think some of those you heard tonight, whether it's moratoriums or other types of enforcement type efforts to make sure the impacts are as limited as possible, are things that we can continue to talk about and look from an operational standpoint as we move forward. So just wanted to address a couple of those comments I heard.
Okay, so with that, we'll entertain a motion to ask staff to return with findings
So
at
moved.
our May 15th meeting.
So moved.
With findings for approval. Donald?
I think I've said it twice now.
Pardon me?
I've already said so moved.
Okay, but I was making a suggestion, so we need to know that that's the motion.
You can make the motion, Linda.
Would you like me to restate the motion?
I
that
thought I already did. She described it and I said so moved.
Is that okay?
It is, the motion that Mr. Terry made was
Okay.
to return with findings of approval for the project at the second meeting in May 17th.
Great. Then we need a second. Then I will second the motion. Okay, Stacy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sander.
Aye.
Councilmember Pulapati.
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Before I tell you, I'm just going to say a couple things, and then I will vote. To all my community, I'm sorry that we came to this conclusion. Everyone knows where I stand on this. You've heard it over and over, and I apologize that we're in this condition. I'm sorry that they're going to put this facility near your homes, and that we've done, or that the council feels that it's done everything it can to protect you. But you know where I stand, and I hope you've watched this whole thing and you see where our shortcomings are, and that you don't stop coming to the council sessions, and you don't stop coming to address your concerns, and you don't let anything that's happened here, because this is just the start of this facility be put in, and not to make sure that you're safe. I also want you to recognize that out of this, we did get 42 acres of new community property that will be added to the situation. And that's one of the main reasons we were able to get that and be able to attract that. Hopefully maybe even now where the baseball fields are gonna go. And at that, I vote no.
Thank you, Garrett. Okay. Motion carries.
So the vote for that is 4-1.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a question, which I want to make really clear? The way we've decided this is, and this is for the city lawyer, the DA is valid, and do you have backup to claim that?
Yes, it's our opinion and the opinion of outside counsel. Yes, the DA is valid, and that will be included in the findings of approval that we draft and bring back to council.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. With that, let's take a 5-minute recess.
Why? It's 7.
If we can bring ourselves back together again. David, are you still with us?
I am.
Great, thank you. We're trying to get going. Thank you, Siri. Okay, we're gonna go. Okay. Stacy, are we recording?
Yes, we are recording, and if I can just do a quick roll call.
Yeah, there's 4 of us because David's online.
Okay, it looks like we've got Councilmember Terry, yes. Councilmember Pulapati, yes. Vice Mayor Sander is online still, and Mayor Budge.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilmember Garrett, I think, is on his way in.
Okay,
There he is.
there we go. Okay, do you want to call item 18.2?
18.2 is Stone Creek Industrial Center Major Design Review Amendment Project Number PLND 11210020.
Okay, Darcy.
Good evening, Mayor Budge, members of the council. Darcy Gillard with the Planning Department. Before you this evening, I believe the PowerPoint's pulling up, is the Stone Creek Industrial Center Major Design Review Amendment. The purpose of tonight's meeting would be present project changes since the April 18th, 2022 City Council meeting, where this item was initially continued, receive testimony, continue the public hearing to May 15th, potentially appoint an ad hoc City Council subcommittee of 2 members, ask any questions, deliberate, and provide staff with sufficiently detailed direction to return with final hearing documents and/or plan revisions at the May 15th City Council meeting. Really quickly, the project request is a major design review amendment for development of 4 light industrial warehouse buildings with internal office space, totaling 602,004 square feet, which includes parking, lighting, landscaping, and the project is located within the Villages of Zinfandel Special Planning Area. On the special planning area land use map, the project is highlighted at the bottom, and is showed as light industrial. Per that plan, uses referred to that would be permitted or conditionally permitted would be that in the M1 and MP use table of the 2003 Sacramento County Zoning Code. Warehouse use is a permitted by right use in the LI zone. Council's discretion is limited to the design of the project, not the use of the site. Before you on the next few slides will be the Villages of Zinfandel development standards. And I'm highlighting these just so that we can go over a few of the standards. There's actually 4 within the development table that also refer to the Sacramento County Zoning Code for additional development regulations. So that would be the FAR, and I know this is a little blurry, but I'll read through the ones that we need to highlight, which are circled in red. So on the right-hand side, it's highlighted light industrial, and those would be MP and M1 development standards for the specific uses that would be allowed. In June of 2019, an ordinance was adopted that modified the interior property line setback for LI zoned parcels from 10 feet if adjacent to non-residential areas to 0 feet. That ordinance also modified the rear setback for only the Creekside Commerce parcels, which are to the west of this project site, and those were modification from 10 feet to 5 feet. So the table before you reflects that ordinance that was adopted by council. The 4 areas that modify these development standards refer to the zoning code, the first one being accessory structures. So if you were going to construct an accessory structure in multifamily, commercial, BP, or light industrial, you would go to that zoning code to look for those standards. In terms of height, you would look at this table, which says 24 to 40 feet, but also it says see the zoning code. And in that case, when you go to the zoning code, what it states is that parcels that are adjacent to a residential zone are limited to 24 feet in height. However, if you're not adjacent to a residential zone and the buildings are greater than 100 feet away, you can go up to 100 feet in height for an M1 zoned parcel. The next development standard table, this is the same table, but I couldn't fit it all on one slide. So this highlights two other areas that default to the Old County zoning code. The first one being parking, and what it does provide is a minimum standard, but it also states that if you know the specific use, then please refer to the zoning code for what the parking standard would be. And the last one would be for walls and fences. So standards for walls and fences within the LI zone default to the old Sacramento County zoning code. On the screen before you is the history of the property. There have been 4 subsequent entitlement projects. I'm not going to highlight the first 3. I'm going to touch on the last one, which was the June 2019 tentative parcel map and major design review for the project site. That totaled 603,830 square feet. Before you on the screen is the approved site plan for that project. It included 18 parcels with a total of 10 buildings, but within those 10 buildings, there's multiple tenant spaces, which totaled about 18 potential tenant spaces. It had 152 loading docks, which were scattered throughout the site, and access was provided onto Zinfandel and Baroque. Before you on the screen were those proposed elevations that were approved in 2019. It provided an earth tone color palette, and the height variation of these buildings was 30 to 35 feet. On the screen before you is the proposed project's site plan, and I'm going to run through some of the specifics of this site plan. Not a lot of this has changed since you saw it in 2002, but since it's been a considerable amount of time, we'll go through that. The proposal includes 4 buildings totaling 602,004 square feet of building space. Buildings A and B, which are at the top of your screen closest to Baroque, those are each 169,536 square feet. Building C, which is to the lower right-hand side, is 136, and Building D is 125,796. There's a total of 605 vehicle parking spaces, 75 long and short-term bicycle parking spaces, 144 loading docks that are internal to the project site, which can be seen in the middle of the screen. There's 85 trailer parking spaces, and we'll have an exhibit later on that shows the detail of where those are located. 3 driveways and a new traffic signal on Zinfandel, and a gated emergency vehicle access driveway on Baroque. The buildings are set back to meet the minimum or setback standards from the property lines. As part of your project plans, attachment 1, which is part of your project plans, had a sightline exhibit in there. So I'm going to walk through just the closest the building is to various areas. So Building A is the closest building on the site plan to Zinfandel and Baroque. On the Baroque side, the closest the building is to the property line is 168 feet. The closest edge of that building to the open space and pedestrian trail that runs along Baroque is 260 feet. To the opposite side of Baroque, at the back of the sidewalk, it's 306 feet. On the Zinfandel side, Building A to the property line is 106 feet. That's the closest point. There's not an open space trail along there, so the opposite side of Zinfandel, the closest the building is 219 feet. The building elevations on the screen are the proposed elevations that you would have seen in April 2002. The height of these buildings were between 44 and 48 feet in height. On the screen before you are the proposed elevations. These are between 42 and 45 feet in height. They use various materials such as some wood paneling. You can see trellises that have some greenery growing on them. Additional modifications that we see is obviously the change in the color palette, They've increased the use of windows along the top to provide additional articulation, and they've increased the landscape screening and have included a berm, which we'll see on future slides. These next few, these pictures here are just some proposed renderings that the applicant has provided of the project site. In terms of proposed landscaping and screening, the project site has over 600 trees. They've increased the density of the landscaping around the project site. At the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the landscape plan, and there's a berm along that area. The reason being that the berm doesn't extend all the way down through the or across the property line across Baroque is that the project site actually narrows down, and there's not sufficient enough room to place an additional berm further to the east that will be able to handle trees in terms of the longevity of the life of the trees on there. Additionally, there's screen walls that are provided at the middle entrance along Zinfandel to block the loading dock view. And with that, I'll turn it over to Albert.
Thank you, Darcy. And looking at proposed vehicle access locations and starting from the north and going towards the south, starting at the north on Baroque, there is an emergency vehicle access that would be gated, and this is accessible by emergency services only in emergency conditions. So that would be, for example, fire or police access in those conditions. And then the north and middle driveways at the top and the middle on Zinfandel Drive, those would be right in and right out access only. There is a solid median there, so left turn access would not be available. And then at the south driveway, there is a proposed signal, and that would require that that the existing trail there be rerouted. It's about 200 feet total, but staff and the applicant are evaluating other potential configurations that would not require rerouting of that trail. Trucks would be using that southern access for access in, the majority of them that are coming south from Freeway 50, and exiting from the site, they would be using the southern and the middle driveway. Looking at some of the proposed pedestrian and bike trail connections and frontage improvements, the developer would be required to install a new 7-foot wide sidewalk on the Zinfandel frontage where there is not currently any sidewalk there. In addition, they would be including pedestrian connections to the trail on Baroque, and it would include a rerouted Zinfandel trail crossing that we are evaluating currently potential other options for. As we look at connections to the bicycle and pedestrian trail system on the exhibit on the right, you can see that the site does connect into both the neighborhood-wide Class 1 trail system, which then connects out to the regional system, including eventually the American River Parkway and beyond.
Thank you, Albert. On the screen before you is an overall site plan that shows where the proposed trailer parking would be located. As I stated before, there's 85 stalls. These are approximately 55 feet in length. And they would be screened. If you look to the right, there is a red line that shows where there would be an extension of a solid screen fence and additional landscaping to further screen that truck parking area from Baroque. We're going to go through a few project site comparisons on the next few slides, and then there will be a table that goes through that highlights a lot of these changes. So I'm not going to speak a whole lot about these next few slides. It's more for a visual purpose. Here are the differences between the elevations between what was approved and what is proposed. Again, here's the landscape plan on the left of what was approved in 2019 and what is proposed. In terms of project comparisons between the two sites, I won't go through each one of these, but the table before you on the screen shows there's obviously a slight difference in the square footage of about 1,800 square feet less in the proposed project. The height has increased on the proposed project. The loading docks have gone down from 152 to 144. The parking stalls have gone down from 716 to 605. That's just based upon overparking of the previous project. The previous site plan, as could be found, there were no designated truck stalls. This one has 85. Distance to the closest, closest building to the residential neighborhood on the previous proposal was 188 feet. This one is 306 feet. Additionally, a few other modifications just to point out differences between the approved and what's being proposed. Albert went through the different access points. Again, that access point off of Baroque is now just a gated emergency vehicle access rather than an access that could be utilized for truck movements. The landscaping is considerably more dense. Additionally, the noise studies are different between the two. The previous approval included the requirement of a 7-foot sound wall along Baroque, as well as limiting 6 of the 18 tenants' hours of operation due to potential noise that could be created based upon the way that the buildings were designed and the location of the loading docks. The proposed project utilizes the building as a natural noise barrier. The noise study did not require any additional noise attenuation for the proposed project. Similar to what we saw on the previous project, a lot of these additional conditions of approval would be imposed upon this project if it were to move forward, including the extension of a new sound wall at the end of Dabena Court, hours of operation, short and long-term bicycle parking. A lot of these things the applicant is already showing on their plans, but these conditions would just reiterate that. Additionally, these were the Attorney General suggestions, which were also brought up by Mayor Budge at the previous meeting. So these would also be attached to this project if it were to move forward.
The developer would be required to install sidewalk on the Zinfandel project frontage, as I mentioned. They would also be required to install a new signal at the south entrance. Zinfandel Drive is wide enough for 6 lanes. It's currently striped for 4 lanes, roughly south of Spoto. So the applicant would be required to stripe Zinfandel Drive as 6 lanes from Spoto Drive to the south city limit, including transitions. Non-passenger and commercial vehicles would not be permitted to use Baroque Drive or other residential neighborhood roads. Truck right-out movements to Zinfandel would need to be contained within the outside or the rightmost lane. And separate from this application, staff have begun the design process for a traffic calming project on Baroque, which would include public outreach.
Just in closing on the environmental, the project is exempt from CEQA subject to 15183 for a previous environmental impact report that was prepared for the Villages of Zinfandel Special Planning Area. It would be subject to any mitigation measures that were part of that EIR. In terms of a recommended motion, staff is requesting that the council receive testimony, continue the public hearing to May 15th, potentially appoint an ad hoc city council subcommittee made up of 2 members, ask any additional questions, deliberate, and provide staff with sufficient direction to return on May 15th. That concludes staff's presentation. The developer does have slides that they would like to present to the council.
So, is that George?
Good evening, George Condon, Dermody Properties. Our architect, Jeff Lenhart's going to do part of this presentation as well. So I think staff did an excellent job of enumerating the details of this project and comparing and contrasting it with the previously approved project. So I'll hit on just a few main points. The purpose of this slide is just to remind everybody that this site is in the flight path, squarely in the flight path. Next slide, or do I need to click? Thanks. And then here, this shows you the flight path as well. Next. So this is the previously approved project. And as Darcy indicated, the truck courts are facing the residential properties on the other side of Baroque. This is a flawed design. This is not what any community wants. The noise is much greater
It's practically funneled into the homes. What wasn't mentioned is that at night you also have headlights shining into the back of homes as well. And then you'll note the distances there, the three distances we've measured from the ends of the buildings to the other side of Baroque. An important, very, very important design change that we'll get into in a second is the fact that our new site plan, our proposed site plan, which deals with a lot of these flaws, also removes 1,865 cars and trucks from Baroque Drive. So that's what the traffic study anticipated for this design. Again, 1,865 daily trips. Next. So again, it's not notated here, but you can see, Darcy mentioned it, that connection to Baroque Drive is for emergency vehicles only. Cars and trucks will not use that. Again, emergency vehicles only. The new design sandwiches the truck court in between the buildings, creating that substantial acoustical barrier, but also eliminating headlights from shining into the back of homes in the evening. It also more than doubles the distance of the truck courts from the homes themselves. Would you like me to pause?
Yeah, George. Guys, if George will be available for questions if you have questions. George or staff.
Okay.
Please continue.
All right, thank you. Next slide. And then this slide here is just showing how trucks enter and maneuver through the project. Again, we're moving the ingress and egress from Baroque down to that lower left-hand corner of the image. And that's where trucks will be turning left into the project via a signalized intersection, trucks and cars. There'll be some very small percentage of trucks and cars coming from the south. The majority, as you can imagine, are coming from the north. And then you can see how trucks either circle the entire project or run between the two buildings, depending on which building's truck court they're getting to. And the one arrow that's creating a bulb at the end, it's a little hard to explain what's going on there, but the dock door on building A that's closest to Zinfandel, staff was concerned that the trucks would have to actually nose onto Zinfandel, or at least into the curb cut in order to back into that. But Jeff has designed the project such that trucks can actually loop at the end of the truck court, and then the dotted line shows how they back into that dock door. Next slide. I'm going to let Jeff talk about his design here.
Mayor Budge, members of the committee, thank you for having me here, and happy to speak about the design of the project. With the City Council's input, we've revised the colors no less than 3 times on the project. And this color scheme draws upon the Stone Creek residences as its sort of its guide for the color palette. It's an earth tone palette that is enhanced with a significant amount of glass. In addition, it also has wood paneling, metal fluted panels, architectural steel that will cast shadows off the building. We've variegated the parapets across the project to create visual interest, as well as stepping the face of the building in and out to create visual interest as well. The paint scheme and color palette creates graphics across the face of the building that punctuate the design and create what I like to think as visual speed bumps that break your eye down and stop your eye as it travels across the facade. We often perceive this as beauty because there's something to look at other than the large mass of the building. The buildings are broken down into smaller components that are more sympathetic to human scale. This, to me, is a very successful industrial building in that its use of glass and materials produces a project that is more akin to an office than it is to a warehouse or industrial. In that regard, I believe it's very successful. and on par with any industrial you could find throughout California, which as a market goes, has a higher level of industrial design. This is amongst the best I've designed and the best I've ever seen. So I think that the design is something that can be appreciated as the pinnacle currently in industrial architecture for warehouses. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So it's Jeff
Yes, Jeff Lenhart, RMW.
okay. These are some of the same materials that are used on the Anatolia Marketplace shopping center that Mark Marvelli did.
It's an attractive project.
Thank you. Okay, George?
Yeah, let me just go through a few other slides. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is just, this is another view of the building. We're standing right now at the parking lot adjacent to Zinfandel near Baroque. Next slide, please. And so the previous one was with the trees at planting. This is now showing the trees at maturity. Next slide. Here we're along the bike path, running parallel to Baroque, obviously between the bike path and Baroque, looking at the side of the building with the trees at planting. The larger trees you see in the foreground are existing trees that were planted some time ago. Next slide. And then as the landscaping matures, you can see the extensive landscaping. Landscape architect couldn't be here tonight, but with over 700 trees, he's created a highly filtered view of the building. Next slide, please. Here, yes, right. So I think we're back here now at Zinfandel and Baroque. No, sorry, this is on Baroque towards the end of the building project, looking back at it. And so this is one of the greater distant views, again, with the trees at planting. And then next slide. And then as the trees mature, again, you can see the filtered views that creates. And I think there's one more slide. Yeah, and then Albert mentioned for exiting trucks, we are working on a design that will keep the trucks in the near lane. And that's what you see happening here. You can see how we have a bifurcated curb cut entry exit. The exit is angled so that trucks can make that turn and stay in that near lane. And I think that's the last slide, right? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, George.
Would you like us to stay here and answer questions?
Are there questions? Donald, Garrett, Siri, David? Any questions for the applicant?
I had one question.
Siri, go ahead.
So for the renderings that you showed of the place, is that the kind of views that you see a lot of community coming out and hanging out at that area?
Well, given that, I think it represents that there's the existing park strip across the south side of Baroque is not only a nice buffer between the development and the neighboring residential, but it will be used, I think, by the neighborhood and by the neighbors it's a park.
And there, we're not suggesting it's going to be a community park either. I mean, I would imagine the bike path is used. I hear a lot of people say that they do love the bike path that runs around the project, around their community. But no, we're not suggesting that that's going to be a communal center. We're showing the folks there to give perspective as far as the landscaping goes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? David?
I would have a couple of questions. Just for clarity, the truck access, in other words, a truck going into this site, how many of the driveways would they access? Clearly the southernmost one.
Yeah, that's correct, council member. So the vast majority of the trucks, we'd have to look at Katie Anderson's traffic report to see what the percentage is, but it's well into the 90% range. Will be coming south on Zinfandel, and they can only turn left at the signalized southern entry into the park. There's a median that would prevent them from turning left. Any trucks that are coming from the south headed north would, of course, have the ability to do a right turn into that middle curb cut that we talked about on the last slide.
But that is a very unusual condition. I'm not sure where they would be coming from in order to access the site, because this is primarily serving Highway 50, is that right?
Yeah, I would agree 100% with your comment.
So changes from the previous proposal, this is basically a height up of 10 feet over what that one was. So we're from 35 to 45. But you mentioned numerous other sort of mitigating factors in terms of sound, traffic volumes and courses, landscaping, etc. So it's sort of a trade-off of 10 feet versus all of those other options.
And I would add to your list greater setbacks from Baroque.
Right.
If I could weigh in, Council Sanders, the distance of the previous, the buildings in the previously approved site plan were as close as 200 feet and an average of 240 feet from Baroque. And we've increased that to a minimum of 260 feet and an average of 320 feet, which equates to a 32% increase in building setbacks from Baroque and the neighbors. And in addition, the truck courts, which were as close as 200 feet, are now 530 feet from the neighborhoods, which from a noise standpoint, because the intensity of sound drops by the square of the distance, that means that the noise component will be reduced by no less than 4 times comparatively.
Yeah, I appreciate your math very much. The inverse square is underappreciated. That's kind of a math joke. My main goal here would be, we don't want the trucks or trailers on site to be seen from the neighboring uses. And I appreciate that you've got surface materials there that are making this building look more like an office and less like a warehouse or a truck stop of some kind. Could you talk about the different views around the site and where trucks would be visible or would not be visible?
Could we bring up
From
a
different perspectives, we probably need a site plan
or
to do
a
that.
landscaping plan, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can work with this here. So I think the only area where we'd have to do a sightline study like we did for the Bear Hollow project, but the only area where trucks might be visible, and I apologize, I cannot see the name of the road that comes off of Baroque. Is it Ocelot?
Tendafina.
Ocelot is the one I'm referring to.
Okay.
Yeah, by the water tower, sorry.
Okay, Ocelot.
Yeah, Ocelot. So, from Ocelot, we have a wall there, of a 12-foot wall. I suspect when our civil engineer does the same sightline study that he did for Bear Hollow, you will not be able, we got to see the grades on Ocelot, but you will not be able to see the tops of the trailers. That would be the goal, but we will review that with staff and our civil engineer. Otherwise, you're not going to see the trucks from any place on Baroque.
There's an existing tank there, obviously.
Yes.
The wall around it, I'm not sure what the height is. Are you going to see, that would be the other view option, I guess, if you could see over that wall towards trucks parked there, but it is set back. Those truck stalls are set a little back from that wall, so you've got the advantage of distance.
Yeah, we'll study that with staff.
And the wall is 12 feet tall.
Is the existing wall 12 at that tank site?
I don't know the height of the existing wall.
I think it might be 8. That's just a guess. Okay. Parking on the north side, those are personal vehicles, not trucks?
Correct.
Yeah. There is some berm indicated there, which would further hamper view of even those cars.
That's correct.
From Zinfandel, you've got the northernmost entrance, which is just single occupant, well, small vehicles.
Yes.
The second one is maybe visually, or the third one are the more problematic with regard to seeing trucks. Could you describe those a little bit?
So the center one, you've got 3 on Zinfandel. So the center one will have screen walls that run parallel to the concrete apron you see in the truck court there. And so those will screen your view of trucks parked in the dock, up against the docks. If you're driving past that, I think the traffic study said people drive on average 45, 46 miles an hour down that road.
Let's talk faster.
Faster, all right, 50 something
Don't
miles an
forget
hour.
you're going downhill. They're picking up speed.
It's the momentum, okay, it's the gravity. Yeah, so you're going to have a fleeting view out of the corner of your eye of the truck court when you're driving past it. Obviously, when you're walking past it, you'll be able to look into the truck court at that point. And then when you're at the southernmost at entry point to the project, if you're headed north on Zinfandel, you're going to be, at that intersection, you're going to be looking at the front of Building D and the landscaping and the parking lot in the foreground, and you're not going to have a view into the truck court there. So really, it's just when you pause, a pedestrian cyclist pauses there at that middle truck court, will you have a clear view into the truck court, the middle drive aisle, apologies.
So the walls, I can't clearly see it here, I'm sorry, on the site plan. The walls for that middle entrance, do they follow the line of pavement out to the curb?
Yes, they're essentially parallel to Zinfandel or straight out of the backs of the buildings on each side. And the northern one at Building A is 60 feet long, as deep as the truck court. The southern one, because of the turnaround area, is almost 60 feet. It's about 54, 55 feet.
Does it wrap around the edge of that little turnaround circle I see there? Or does it just go straight out and stop?
That one off of Building D comes up straight out of the upper left corner of the building and goes straight up and terminates at about 55 feet from the building.
Okay.
When you get to that bulb area you're looking at, you need to start maintaining sightline views for safety. And so that's why you've got to stop the screen walls at a certain point.
Is that for a truck exiting or entering?
Exiting.
Exiting. That's a right turn only there because of the design, right?
That's correct. So you need a clear view to your left when exiting.
So I guess, given that safety question, we just need to figure out by landscape or wall, how narrow can we make it and still keep it safe? Because that's the only keyhole into the truck storage at the site.
Yeah, that's right. We'll review the details of that with Darcy and her team.
So George, let me ask you guys then. Are we talking a wall here?
That's correct.
These two?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. David, anything else?
I want to be sure we've got, as dense a planting as possible on the perimeter here. It'd be awesome if you could just lower the whole, buildings by 10 feet into the ground and build a giant berm around it. But I suppose that's not necessarily feasible.
We do nearly, I mean, the two berms at the northern side of the site are just a little shy of 1,000 linear feet total, and they're, at their base, 30 to 40 feet wide and 8 feet tall. And we
Oh,
would
so it's an 8-foot berm. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's highlighted in yellow there. And the only areas we couldn't shoehorn them in is where the emergency access required by the fire department is. And then we've got a little amenity area up there as well that interrupts where the berms are. And as for landscaping, I'm not sure it was touched on entirely, but the originally entitled plan had 410 trees, and the current landscape plan calls for 539, which again is an increase of 31%.
And this is a question for Darcy. We've had projects come in before. I'm talking 20 years ago with Porpac where, trees were promised, and I think Donald has made this point often, trees are shown at 30-year heights, and often they're not watered or cared for to get to the 30-year heights, and 30 years is a very long time. So landscaping at, initiation of the landscaping versus what might someday happen is sort of speculative. Do you think, Darcy, that we've sort of maximized the benefits we could get from landscaping here in the short and medium term?
Thank you for your question, Councilmember Sander. Yes, we've had the landscape plan reviewed by the city's arborist to ensure that it's as dense as we can possibly get it, but as well as ensuring the longevity of the trees that we plant in there. As we've spoken before, is when we start to increase the size of the trees that we put in there and we compact the area, they don't live for as long as they're supposed to. So with work with our arborist, we've come up with a plan that should have sufficient long-term growth. Additionally, though, when they come in and we review their landscape plan during a building permit, we'll go over that again. Conditions of approval are placed on the project to ensure that they maintain these trees, including the appropriate irrigation. So there's a couple different things in place to ensure longevity of the trees on the site.
So that we can do enforcement if necessary if the landscape fails?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Darcy, while I've got you there, the time of operation restriction here, could you describe that for me again?
Certainly. Currently, what we had proposed on the slide, and the applicant can probably speak to it more specifically, is restrictions between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. for truck movements in and out of the site. That's a condition we've placed on other projects, so we were consistent with that. But certainly the council has the will to modify that with cooperation with the applicant, as again, this isn't a use permit, but the applicant has been willing to look at hours of operation.
So there could be internal work going on at this facility, but not trucks entering or leaving the site as proposed?
Correct. How the current condition is proposed is the truck traffic would be limited in and out of the site between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Okay, so in the middle of the night, if a truck, I'm going to ask this question, I've asked at a previous discussion. If a truck is backing up in the site in the middle of the night, is it going to have to emit that annoying beep, beep, beep sound?
To my understanding, that is a required OSHA safety standard. So yes, that cannot be something that they turn off at any given time of the day.
Yeah, that's a serious impact to the neighborhood. That beep, beep, beep sound is annoying enough as it is in this particular neighborhood when you occasionally hear it due to the auto recyclers. But generally, that is restricted to daylight hours, working hours, 9 to 5 sort of hours. This would potentially be 24 hours of beep, beep, beep. Do either of our proponents there have any comments on that question or that problem?
Well, as Darcy mentioned, we're open to considering the restriction from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for truck activity.
So it's not just ingress and egress, but like all internal truck activity?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. That would be obviously an improvement over 24 hours of the noise, potentially, of course. Linda, you're usually the colors and articulation sort of guru on our council. Do you have any comments on this design from, I think you mentioned colors. I'm not sure you mentioned articulation.
Are we in here from the public at some point on this item?
Yes,
Okay.
we're asking questions, Donald. Yeah, David, they said that the color palette had changed a couple of times. But if we do our ad hoc committee, we can certainly talk about that.
Okay. I think that's it for questions for the applicant and staff. I'll just add, this is not, obviously, based on my previous comments tonight, this is not a use I would approve of. This is not a use I like. This is not a use that I think is going to benefit the neighborhood. But I don't feel like the use is on the table here. We just have design review on the table in front of us, unfortunately.
Yes, so what we do have, though, is the opportunity to kind of meet with the neighborhood and get ahead of the comments, as we have talked about for the last year. So that would be the purpose of the ad hoc committee. And you and I could serve on the ad hoc committee because we're the two who are not going to DC next week, and we have the time to do this. So that's kind of the direction we'll be going. And so now, George, Jeff, thank you. And
Thank you.
We'll ask for public comment.
Thanks.
We'll start with the public comment for those who are in the council chambers. Joseph Selby will be first. Following Joseph will be Jason Billington. Following Jason will be James Garcia, and then Sarah Malone. And I'd like to integrate Marilyn Metzger in there, so she'll be third.
Okay. Joseph.
Hello, I'm Joseph Selby. I'm with the Local 185. I know that there's going to be a lot of building with this project, and I just wanted to let you know that, as a labor, local jobs are like our bread and butter. It gives us more time with our families. It makes us available to keep all the money that we spend on the road, like in town, So I just wanted to push for, if there's building on these jobs and Local 185 can be involved, that would be greatly beneficial to us all. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Hi, my name is Jason Billington, a longtime or 46-year resident of Rancho, Cordova. I'm a product of the Air Force Base. My grandfather. My parents went to Mills in Cordova. I ended up going to Mills in Cordova. My kids played baseball here. I am with Local 185. I'm a journeyman with them. I have a teaching credential, and I teach for a pre-apprenticeship construction training program at Mather Air Force Base. It's with Sacramento County Office of Education. Yeah. And when I see projects like this in our community, if we could keep local workers employed, I see a great opportunity for some of our youth, for some of our students to gain employment and move forward in their careers and support the local community. Mather Air Force Base is one of the reasons that we are who we are. And so if you think about Sacramento Airport, they have logistics. If you think about McClellan, they have logistics. Now Mather is going to have more logistics. That's just the nature of Rancho Cordova. We continue to grow and grow. I've seen lots of growth in 46 years, and we're going to keep doing that. So, but I am here today to support the project as well as local construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Marilyn? Following Marilyn will be James Garcia and then Sarah Malone.
Well, this brings back memories of last year. I have the same questions I had last year. You've got, on this one, 2,986 car trips daily and 362 trucks. And from what I just saw, it looks like there's one entrance in to the complex and two truck exits out, and then the cars exit at the northern side. Is that correct? Is that correct? I mean, can anybody answer that?
Yeah, it's in
There's only one entrance in.
No, it was in the staff report.
Okay. If that signal, I'd ride my bike there currently every day. The fun time is at prime time when a pedestrian or a cyclist presses the button and you've got a 2-minute wait. Traffic backs up almost to North Mather sometimes and backs up past the fire training center coming north. You're adding all these trucks and all these cars, and you're going to have at least a 4 or 5 sequence signal. That is going to back up traffic on both north and south, even adding an additional lane there. It's going to add it up. And the truck, which they call truck parking, is actually trailer parking. That is going to be the noisiest area of the property because there's nothing noisier than a truck disengaging and taking off, or re-engaging, the metal sound, and then accelerating out. Again, I agree with Dave. There's a time and a place to put this, but this is not the place and it's not the time. And I know for me as a bike rider, I will not be biking there if I still live here. I will not be biking through diesel exhaust on a daily basis. I would not want my children playing there. I wouldn't want to walk my dog through there. It's going to be a lot of truck exhaust, and obviously with 2,986 car trips daily, it's going to be a lot of car exhaust. I hope to see better answers to some of these questions.
Thank you, Marilyn. James?
Hello, Council. I'm James Garcia. Once again, I'm here to speak out against this project. The city staff is relying on inaccurate impression of the development agreement is in force to use vested rights. The city needs to follow the state code addressing development agreement terms when said development agreement was adopted prior to a city's inception. The city is also not listening to new information with regards to air quality that was not provided in the environmental impact report nor the supplemental environmental impact report for the Z-Spot area. The city is aware of this failure to act upon new information as important relevant to air quality concerns that need to be addressed. Look at the more recent draft EIRs and EIRs in the city's planning division document library. The Ranch's draft environmental impact report, section 3.2, air quality, discusses many of the same data we have brought forth before the city council regarding PM 2.5. The Dermody lawyer tries to wash this away by stating that it is not addressed in the current EIR and supplemental EIR for the Z-SPA, and as such, not subject to challenge. Yet newer EIRs and draft EIRs are aware of the health risk associated with PM 2.5 and other environmental dangers. As the city's elected officials, the city council is tasked with the protection of the residents and as such have an obligation to insist that an updated EIR be done for the Z-SPA area before any projects are approved so that the environmental dangers are addressed, including the one that you just approved. The staff report also fails to do the setback. It actually stated 5 feet, 0 feet, not 5 feet. And again, it is only for the creek side. The staff report fails to address the Z-SPA's specific height restrictions for the light industrial zone of 24 to 40 feet. See zoning code for clarification on page 9 of their report that tries to avoid the height restriction. The maximum, the Z-SPA's height restriction, the parcel map included, an open space along Baroque Drive and Osceola Way to get around the contiguous parcels restriction that would have limited these buildings to 24 feet rather than allowing the maximum 40 feet height. The staff tries to point out that in other areas of Sacramento County, the height allowed could be 100 feet. This is a huge flaw the staff is trying to get around and distract from the fact that the Z-SPA spells out the height limits and the county code is only to get the reason to increase up to 40 feet. The other aspect of this is the EVA entrance should be actually off of Osceola Way because it's closer to the fire station off Kilgore, a lot easier access. The new signal light, again, I've walked that, ran that, biked it, and nearly been hit. My family members have also done that. That light is not safe. You're now moving it further south and downhill. There is no way to mitigate this. The height restriction
Please
is
wrap up
clearly
your
defined.
comments.
Major design review for the proposed Stone Creek industrial project should be denied based upon design review standards, including height. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Next.
Sarah Malone. Following Sarah will be Alfie, and then Valerie Knipschild and Paul Carroll.
Hello again. Sarah Malone, concerned resident of Rancho Cordova and Stone Creek. I'm here to oppose what I call skip the Stone Creek Industrial Project. Let's skip it. As we have experience with the Bold and Beauty Project, there's no enforcement. Paul mentioned this earlier, Paul Carroll. We really encourage some form of enforcement. Trucks are traveling down Baroque now from GLP. There's no one out there enforcing it, and they're driving down there. They're speeding down Zinfandel, what we call the Zinfandel Autobahn now. No one's enforcing that. So I've got a mishmash of things here based on listening to the presentation. We request that if approved, the developer construct the D building first. They have mentioned previously they're going to construct the A building first. We'd appreciate building D in the back being constructed first to see how long it sits vacant before it has tenants. Also, this will mitigate some of the noise that the neighbors have to put up with during construction and kind of get us used to this process. We acknowledge that they are considering the hours 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and appreciate that, but we also request on weekends that it be later than 6 a.m. if they're going to be 7 days a week, because 6 a.m. is kind of early on the weekends. We also would like a sound wall to be 8 feet, not 6 feet at that court, because that sound is not going to, they're higher than us, and it's just gonna travel over the 6 feet. We also would like no construction access off of Baroque at any time. Make that an emergency exit right away and have that blocked off. And then Marilyn mentioned this, but the trailer parking is 55 feet. Trucks are typically 65 feet, the tractor trailers, so where are they gonna go and where do they stage from when they're waiting to go in and load if the docks are full? And then they talk about 2,960 cars when they're in the flight path. I remember reading there's a limit of employees that you can have or people that you can have in the flight path, and that seems like an overage with 2,960 cars. So those are my concerns. Hopefully they can be looked at and addressed in some time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Is it Alfie? Alfie?
Hello, my name is Alfie Pareda. I live in the Mather community. I've been there for 19 years. I am a proud laborer, and if it wasn't for the laborers, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I love this community. We had many places to move to when I got married. We didn't know where to go, but Mather was great because this whole community around here has everything that we need. I'm very happy to say that I live here. And again, I'm a proud laborer. They've done great things for me. My quality of life is good. And I've had some very good training. I met some really good people, and then they changed their lives. And on that note, I liked it so much, I'm a C31 union contractor. And I'm proud to say that. I'm not just a contractor, I'm a union contractor, knowing that the people that I have are highly trained in what they do, and they're safe in what they do. And I'm proud to say that. And it's, I can say, I have one employee that's living here in the community, ready to buy a house. I'm proud to say that I'm putting him to work. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm happy where this community is going. It's growing fast, and it's been growing for the last 15 years. You guys have a lot of things on your hands to deal with. And I would like to see developers, if they're thinking about hiring people, I absolutely believe the union is the way to go. Again, we have the best training, I think. I've been to junior colleges. I've been to University of Arizona, and I've also been to the training center. I like them all. I think they're all very good at what they do. And I'm just proud of who I am and where I've become thanks to the union. Again, the quality of life is awesome. My family life is good. I love this community, and I wish we'd get more work here for the union. Again, I'm a traffic control guy, so it's kind of tough to do. But again, all union work, all the trades are very same. They're trained, they're highly skilled, they're safe at what they do. So any developers that are here thinking about maybe choosing who's what, I would seriously think about going union because you know what you're going to get. Quality of work, good workers, skilled, trained, craft employees showing up to the job site. And it's a good feeling knowing that you have really good benefits, good quality of life, and you don't have to worry about paycheck to paycheck. And it's an awesome feeling. And I'm very proud to say I have 6 full-time employees. One lives here, like I said, and just knowing that I can help them, with their lives like someone helps me with my life, giving me an opportunity to go. And again, thank you for your time. Again, any developers that are here, think about union, please. I just think it's the way to go. That's why I'm a union contractor, and I'm proud of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alfie. Valerie?
Hi, I'm Valerie from Stone Creek. Good evening, Mayor Budge, council members, and city staff. I oppose the project. That's what I'm gonna say first off. One of the questions I want to ask about your ad hoc group, can we add a couple Stone Creek residents to that ad hoc group?
The idea is to meet with the community.
Okay, but if you were doing like an ad hoc, we'd like to have some of our people there too. Back to West Sacramento. When I looked at that building, those 2 buildings, it reminded me of this huge, massive wall that the architect said. When I hear huge, massive wall, I think of Trump's wall, ugly. It wasn't appealing to me. Those buildings, all the Dermody buildings that I saw online, they all look the same. They all look the same. All they do is change the colors. I wanted to state something that was said earlier tonight about there's less traffic than there was proposed. The reason why there's less traffic is everybody's working from home, but there's not less trucks. I see trucks every day. I've counted them. I've seen them on my cameras. You said there's a truck driving hour, 10 to 6. The DLP building goes from 4 a.m. until 1 a.m. the next day. You're not out there telling them they can't come in there. They're driving, they're still coming in. There's a fuel truck that comes in there. You told me occasionally. They come in every night. So back to West Sacramento. There are lots of trucks there. I got there on a Saturday and there was truck drivers all over the place. And there were Amazon vehicles all over the place. I got to an intersection and it was a parade of Amazon trucks. One of the things that's good about that area is they have Southport Parkway. And those trucks use that road. They don't go through the center of the city, through the residents to get where they're going. They go out Southport, they go up Jefferson, and they're on the freeway. Just saying. George said something about the buildings secluding the noise and how the 2 are back to back and there's no noise. How do you know the noise? Do you live in the residence? They're gonna sit there next to those warehouses? I hear the noise every day. Every day I hear the noise. The one at GLP, there's noise all the time. And if you have 150 truck bays, what happens if you have 150 trucks coming in at one time?
Wrap up your comments.
They're gonna be waiting to go in. And we live in a bowl. So that exhaust, like the rendering plant, stays there for 24 hours. So we're gonna be living in the muck. And we'll all die. That's how I ended my last comment.
Thank you, Valerie. Paul?
I'll bet all of you are anxious for when all of this settles down and you don't hear 10 of us coming forward every night on every subject. We are looking forward to it even more. Couple of things, some picked up from what I heard. Certainly the 45-foot height is a surprise. The discussion of what's the maximum height for the Z-SPA design guidelines, I thought we had resolved at Lodge Center. We never heard well, it can go up to 100 feet when we talked about Lodge Center. It was the design guidelines say 40 feet. So this is the first time in the discussions of a year that we've heard, oh, the Sacramento County Code could apply, which would make it up to 100. I wonder where that is coming from. As James indicated, it seems a surprise to us. I can show you the chart, as Darcy showed you, that said it was 24 to 40. Look to the Z-SPA for the code for guidance, and the guidance says it's how close it is to residential. I've read nothing that says it can go up to 100. So it's something that we maybe need to learn as a community. I'm also concerned about the active enforcement. You know, you can legislate all you want, but if nobody's enforcing it, it's not going to happen. We've had issues where people have said, call code enforcement. Code enforcement arrives 24 hours later. You know, so somehow we have to figure out if in fact these prohibitions are going to stick. There's got to be some enforcement and some consequences of the people that actually violate those. We've talked about noise and pollution, but it's always about the site. We're not talking about what is the noise level increase on Zinfandel as all these trucks are going 2.5 miles between the site and Highway 50. And to what extent, as that gets more and more and more congested, is that noise going to build? We also don't look at the pollution on Highway 50. As all those trucks are going up and down, that pollution is spreading across, first of all of Stone Creek, which is in a bowl, and then it begins to move into other parts of Rancho. So those two issues, and pollution especially, is why we have consistently said, can we get an air quality study that will either prove all of us wrong, the study will come back and say, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, see, there is no issue. Or the study will come back and say, you're absolutely right. And not unlike mining back in the 1800s when gold was extracted with mercury. And everybody was doing it. And then they discovered mercury was poisonous. But everybody still wanted to do it because it was easy to do it that way. I think diesel pollution is the mercury of our generation.
Please wrap up your comments.
That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time. And really, I and our group really appreciate the effort that's going into this, the attention that you've paid for us. You know, it has been a privilege to work with you on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else?
Eric Weiniger. Following Eric will be Jennifer Garcia, Don Hatko, and Kim Schuster.
It's deja vu all over again, I guess. So first I want to commend you for taking action on the purchase of those properties. I don't know what was behind all of that, how it all got started, but from my viewpoint, somebody somewhere recognized that that is a bad decision to put those big buildings just directly upwind from an elementary school, even closer than Logistics Center. And with that wind tunnel function right there in the middle, I mean, somebody put 2 and 2 together and figured out that's not a very good thing. So that just begs the question to me is, why isn't the same type of analysis being done for everything else? There's talk about consistency in rules over time. Well, if you want to stick to the 1998 rules, then you should stick to the life of 1998. You have a flip cell phone, you don't have Netflix, and you sure as heck don't have COVID vaccines. But no, they want to, there's a cherry picking of the conditions that they want to adhere to and versus what is wanted right now. And speaking of consistency, there's also another Damati project going on in El Dorado Hills, and if you read their statements about it, their FAQs, they talk about doing a consistency review across all of the environmental documents. That sounds like a pretty reasonable thing to do. So I suggest that this be considered for the future here and not be tied into antiquated development agreements. Speaking of which, why isn't the city council jumping up and down and determining how to find new development agreements that actually give the city control over their world, then selling it off to others? Because that's what it seems like it is. So even though there's all these opinions about the development agreement being valid and all of that, what about the future? There sure as heck should be some more attention paid to in the future about what the implications are, unintended consequences. And again, speaking of the development agreement and all the other legal questions, I raised this question before and it was kind of stated tonight, but gosh, we want to see the details of all this rationale. All we hear is statements that, yeah, CEQA is okay and development agreement's valid, et cetera. All we have seen is Dermotti's letters and no independent legal analysis. Sure, Hanson Bridget, call that independent, but gosh, if I reviewed something of so much consequence, a $100 million question in a page and a half, I'd be laughed out of the lab. So please put as much energy into examining these deep questions with super large consequences as you do in reviewing how many trees get planted around a building. So to mirror just another thing that Paul just said.
Please wrap up your comments.
When I heard 100 feet, it's like, what? Where did that come from? Please, someone explain that a little bit more other than a 30-second presentation.
Thank you, Eric. Jennifer.
Is that beautiful? It's upside down. We do it that way, maybe. Okay, so Jennifer Garcia again, a resident of Stone Creek. This is a view from my two-story house that sits directly across from this property. And if you look at the map of the warehouses, that middle lane that is going to go between all the four buildings is going to shine directly into my two-story bedroom window that is upstairs. To say this is going to disrupt my life is an understatement. I live there, I work from there. This is what I look at every day for the last 8 years and approximately a month since I moved in and purchased my home from Elliott. I'm the first-time home buyer there, and this is what I have been looking at. So this is seriously going to disrupt my life personally, along with my fellow residents. But since this is design approval, my fellow residents have talked about air quality. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to ask City Council this because you're already at this point going to approve the project. So here are some of my personal requests. I would ask that you have the developer stick with the original approved height of 30 to 32 feet that was approved in 2019. I ask that you add a wall that goes all the way down Baroque. I ask that you change the emergency access to the corner of Baroque and Oslet. It would make for a lot more sense since you have the fire station that is off Kilgore. It would make also, you have two ways in and out for the emergency vehicles that would come in. I would ask that you also put code enforcement on site. You limit the hours of operation, especially while building this project, to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., not before that when the building is being built. When Bold and Beauty was being built, it was during the time of COVID.
I was living at home, working with my husband and 3 kids and doing homeschool. And I cannot tell you how many times I yelled out the window in the middle of the night to shut the bleep up. It did no good because they couldn't hear me, but I could hear them, and I still hear them every single night. I hear the trucks coming in and out because I have that 2-story window. So another request would be that any resident that lives within 1,000 feet down Baroque of this property, that the developer come in and install new triple pane windows and a new heating and air conditioning filters, or new heating and air conditioning unit that has the highest grade of air filtration possible. I would ask that as the ad hoc committee, that Garrett Gatewood be a part of that, since he is the only member of the council that seems to stand with the community.
Please wrap up your comments.
And that also, looking at the view of the, Mr. Comden's view that he did of the building, it looks like it's laying down, not standing up, where the shiny homes are. And if Mr. Compton would like to come to my house and see the view personally, you're more
Thank
than
you, Jennifer. Dawn? Was it a Dawn?
It is it Dave? Don? Hatu? Don. D-O-N. No Don. Okay, we will move on. Kim Schuster.
Wow, this is exciting. This is my first time up here, so I want to thank, the mayor, thank council members for having me here. I'm really excited about the purchase of the land because I live in Veranda. So for me personally, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We're going to keep that land. It's next to the park, so I'm really excited for future developments there. But I do have some questions about the noise study. So I was reading it, and there's just a couple of things I was just wondering, so hoping that could be clarified. The first one is on page 11. It mentions heavy truck circulation. And it says that analysis was done with the assumption that there would be 50 on-site heavy truck trips during a worst-case busy hour. And then in parentheses, it says this is believed to be conservative. So if it's conservative, what's the usual? What does it go up to, right? Like, I'm wondering how much can it be? So that's one of my questions. The analysis was done on a conservative level, and I was curious if it could be redone at like a more accurate level, like what's actually happening on a worst case like hour. And then page 12, it says heavy truck backing and trailering activities, kind of relating to what David Sander was questioning about with the beeping. It mentioned that it was assumed that heavy trucks would not be permitted to idle on site, and that refrigerator trucks would be plugged into loading bay power. So if trucks aren't able to idle, if they warm up, like, are they just going to have to like go immediately? Are they not able to warm up? How long are they not able to idle for? So again, this analysis was done based on those numbers. So I'm just kind of curious, like, I don't know if that's fully realistic. And the last two things are concerns that the analysis was done on some very old like dates and estimates. One example is on page 12. It said that it was based on a noise level measurement of a similar sized warehouse distribution facility in Patterson, California, over a 48-hour period in August of 2015. So I don't know diesel trucks very well, but I imagine they may or may not have changed by 2015. So again, I don't know if these numbers are fully accurate. In addition, the analysis on page 6 of existing ambient noise was also done on October 30th of 2018. So again, I'm not sure how accurate it is. So if there's any way to get an updated noise study with more accurate numbers, less conservative things, and just more like what is it actually going to be on a day-to-day basis, that would be appreciated. And then my public comment, I added something about like talking about environmental concerns and other ideas. So feel free to take a look at my public comment as well. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else?
Don Hatch. I believe he left. Okay, and then we have another in the audience who wants to come forward. Do you have a card? Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Jenna Contreras, and I'd rather be watching the game. The last time I checked, the Kings were up. So we talked about, they talked about headlights not shining into the neighborhood, but what about building lights? Because the warehouse that got built shines directly on me when I'm laying in bed. So just that's a concern, the lights of the building. We talked about adding an extra lane on Zinfandel. There's a little community between North Mather and Spotto, and when you try to come out and make a U-turn on Zinfandel in the morning, that's a lot of traffic. It's a lot of traffic already with 2 lanes. So if you got a third, I guess, post an extra cop for an accident or two. And then signage. There's signage, great signage. It was a great idea not to have trucks on North Mather Part. It's not working. Trucks will be there in the morning when I'm dropping off kids for school, and it's still there when I come back to pick them up from school. So am I supposed to call code enforcement every day? No? Email them pictures? Is that what I'm supposed to do? It's a real question. And then we talked about the sound of the trucks. It's loud. I'm glad I don't have a newborn right now because it's really loud. And they are there early. And it's way more noise than I think any of us thought it would be. And we're trying to be hopeful, but it's a lot of noise. And that's a big warehouse with a lot of trucks. And me personally, I chose Stone Creek over Anatolia and Folsom. I thought it was where I wanted to be. I didn't see this in the future. I guess I wasn't thinking far enough ahead. But I hope that we still keep in mind that there's a lot of children and a lot of children activities, and try to think of that in the ways that we're protecting them when we're also protecting the city from lawsuits and stuff. But we can't take buildings away once they go up, right? Like once it's there, it's gonna be there. Are we gonna relocate citizens to stay? Like, I wanna stay in Rancho. How are we gonna help me do that? I don't know. Well, thank you for your time. Good night. I'm gonna go hopefully finish the end of the game.
Thank you, Jenna. Anybody else?
Those are the speaker cards that I have, and I'm going to go to the callers in Zoom. So we'll start off with Alexander. Alexander, you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak, and then I'll go to Davis and then Janet.
Alexander, welcome.
I think he dropped. Alexander, are you there?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? This is Alexander.
We can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. I have not prepared any comments for this conversation. I was actually earlier in the adjourning room, but I got to tell you, I'm a resident of Rancho Cordova, specifically in Stone Creek. I watched the neighborhood being built for the past 12 years. In fact, I watched the entire neighborhood, including my own house, being built from the ground up. I live in a second cul-de-sac off of Ocelot Way, right next to that big water tower. And I gotta tell you, looking at these architectural drawings, I find them very, very disingenuous. I don't know how many of you folks have actually walked the neighborhood, how many of you actually walked on the Baroque Drive rather, but the images that you have seen are not representative of what that neighborhood actually looks like. They're widely zoomed in, you have thick trees, you have all this foliage that is just not the case. There are plenty of very old trees that are growing there right now. There's nowhere near the coverage and the protection from what appears to be a massive parking lot allocated for, 65, 75, 85 trucks, whatever you guys have there. So when I'm hearing that there is gonna be beautiful shrubbery and some sound barriers, that is disingenuous. Let's get real. The architect talked about how, he achieved this beautiful building. Come on, let's get real. Give me a break. It's an ugly brick square box warehouse. It is not a beautiful architectural structure. So when we talk about, hey, this is going to be, accommodating the neighborhood, the color is going to look great like the rest of the neighborhood. The reality is those warehouses are just a couple 100 feet away from the neighborhood. And specifically the parking lot that is backed up to that water tower. Again, I don't know if you walk the neighborhood, it's impossible to hide it unless you have a 20 or 30-foot wall from the rest of the neighborhood. So there's lots and lots of noise coming from Zinfandel, lots of noise coming from Sunrise, right? I mean, we can hear that traffic 24/7. And now imagine that massive increase in noise from the diesel trucks. So when I hear architect and the developer telling us that there's a 4% or 40% reduction or 4 times reduction in noise, well, from what? From massively increased noise? I mean, come on, let's not talk about numbers. Let's actually walk the neighborhood and understand what that massive traffic will actually do, specifically 200 feet away from people's homes, right? There's no hiding that. And putting up a couple of trees that will take 20 or 30 years to grow isn't going to fix the problem with aesthetics, with the noise, with hiding this industrial warehouse. So I encourage city council members to actually go out in the neighborhood and understand what the drawings will actually look like in reality when you have feet on the ground. If you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Davis? Davis is next.
Valdez. And then Davis.
Okay. Valdez?
Good evening, Mayor Budge, council members, staff. My name is Antonio Valdez. I'm a resident of Stone Creek. I live near the water tower, and I echo all of my fellow neighbors' concerns and agree. I wish that the project wasn't moved forward, but as we're talking about design, some issues that at least directly affect myself. I have a young child, like many of my neighbors, and the time period of operation, especially where I particularly live near the water tank where the trailers will be at 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's good luck for us getting any sleep with babies and children waking up. So if it has to go forward, changing those hours either from something like 7 to 8 would be something to consider greatly, as well as in terms. I think there was a discussion earlier about the wall. Blocking the view of any trailers that I was looking at just earlier. I think it's about 12 feet, the wall for the water tank. So at minimum, that would be it. Actually, obviously, we'll have to have it higher to help block some of the sound because, yes, I hear trucks, I hear the businesses, the car recycling businesses, and on Sunrise as well, and those are thousands of feet away. I could only imagine how much louder it's going to get once the warehouses come into operation. And then I think Ms. Garcia, great if the developer is willing to pay for more soundproofing, okay, great, that take care of that. But I feel that'd be a lot more. That wouldn't be as effective or cost effective. But I am willing to hear if the developer is open to that, and hopefully the ad hoc committee, looks into these things as well. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Antonio. Davis?
Hello, Mayor Budge. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm back again. So another Stone Creek community member who's opposed to this, but we're talking about all these big trucks coming and going. But where are these trucks going to go when that driver forgets to bring his lunch and he has to pull off to the side of the road to get a bite to eat? Where in this part of town are they going to go? It's just basic question. Also, the other question is, what are the rules going to be like for those trucks pulling into the Lowe's parking lot, pulling into the CVS parking lot, pulling into the Rayleigh's parking lot or the brand new Sprouts parking lot? I don't understand, where are they going to end up and how long are they allowed to be there? The third thing, another possible question I have is, if this is a warehouse and they're all going through, will those people have to work in those warehouses? So there's going to be cars coming and going nightly. Let's not forget about all the cars that are going to be coming and going. Not just to talk about the trucks coming up and down the road, but the cars, just the pure amount of people, the employees that have to run these warehouses and, let's hope that they're employees and not robots, but, actual people being able to work. But where are they all going to go? I mean, we're still missing a lot of stuff happening on this side of Rancho Cordova. You know what I mean? So I guess my simple question is, what are the rules going to be moving forward for those vehicles? What are the rules going to be moving forward for the trucks, for the 18-wheelers? 40, 46, 44 foot long 18-wheelers, where are they going to go? And for how long? What are the rules for the road for them? And what's going to change in this city as far as speed limits, timing of the lights, these types of things. I hope you guys take that all into consideration, since pretty much we're SOL on the rest of the considerations. So that's it. But thank you guys.
Thank you, Davis. Anybody else?
Next speaker is Janet. Janet,
Janet?
you've been unmuted and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Janet? Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, still. I've lived in Rancho Cordova since 1979 and Stone Creek for the past 10 years. I have seen Rancho Cordova start out as not the best part of Sacramento, and now it's a great city to live in, and I'm very proud of it. I'm concerned with all of these warehouses that we may be dropping a little bit in that standard. That being said, I have a couple concerns. I live on Ocelot with a bike trail in my backyard and the canal berm. During the summer, when the Delta breeze comes up, it is not unusual for the breeze to be 15 to 20 miles per hour in my backyard. I'm thinking, and during this past winter, my east-west fence blew over with some of the windstorms. I'm thinking of the noise and the diesel fumes that will be coming up through that funnel that will come along with the Delta breeze. My second concern is it's not unusual for me to be driving north on Zinfandel from Rayleigh's, from Douglas, and I need to turn onto Baroque to get to Ocelot. If the trucks are coming out into a lane on Zinfandel and headed north, is there going to be a bigger potential for trucks and cars to collide as we both get to the corner of Baroque and Zinfandel? I can see that as being kind of each of us divvying for space. But anyway, I'm hoping that these are two issues for the planning committee. I hope they'll, think about that as well. I don't envy your job, and I appreciate all the work that everyone involved has been giving this project for the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Anybody else?
That's all the public comment that we have via Zoom. The city clerk's office did receive public comment via email, and those emails were from the following: Kim Schuster, James Garcia, Jenna Bethencourt, Paul Carroll, Yolanda Q, Jennifer Garcia, Sarah Malone, Valerie Knipschild, and Barbara Kropasek.
Okay, so. Staff would like to bring this back on the 15th of May, and that would give time for the committee to meet with the residents and get some ideas on what could be done or what should be done to the project. Garrett, I don't know whether you want to do this or not.
I sure do.
Okay.
I cannot wait. But one second. But you realize that this is going through and I'm gonna just do my best to mitigate. We understand that, right? This isn't gonna be stopping. I have to actually
Okay,
mitigate this
Garrett,
with the, wait, I'm talking to.
Technically, we're not supposed to express that kind of final decision.
I haven't expressed it. I said that we're going to work on it together to figure out the best
Great.
option to bring back to council.
Great. Then you and I will
So
work
you
on
guys
it together.
one sec.
With the
Hold on, I'm talking to the
residents.
community. You guys understand this, right? It's a design review. Because I am not a king yet. We're working on that. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so, does that work for everybody? Garrett, myself?
Do we need a motion probably and a vote?
Sure,
to
sure.
do that?
A couple things. If you could make a quick motion to appoint the ad hoc committee, and also just a note on timing, just for staff and for the benefit of the community. It does take staff and the city attorney's office on a very complex project like this. Once the committee is done with its work, we need about 2 weeks at least to get the packet prepared.
Okay,
Darcy,
so
I
Garrett,
just wanna
that's the
double
only.
checking with you.
That's the only disadvantage of your being on the committee, simply because David and I, since I can't go to DC now, if you're gonna go.
No, I'll stay, and then we can work on this instead of going to DC. Let's just get it done. That's fine.
It's ad hoc, so it doesn't follow the Brown Act requirements of
No, that wasn't.
virtual. I mean, I'm saying even if you were in DC, if you were you could take some of these
We could do
virtually.
Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll get it done. We got 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a truncated time frame that we're going to be working within, and so I think
May
as-
15th, 4 weeks?
when we have the committee, we can work with you and staff to figure out how to move forward and try to work it as well as possible. There are some time frame commitments of actually, if there are design changes and different things associated with the work of the design review, the developer team, the architects need time to actually do the work too. So
They do.
there's a lot of moving pieces to this, but I think as we'll get the committee established and then work through that conversation with the two of you, whoever that is. It sounds like it's maybe going to be Councilmember Gatewood and Mayor Budge, but we'll work with you to work through that timing and do our best. But there's some complexity to this that we'll have to work through.
Okay. Then I will move that that Garrett and I will be the ad hoc committee that meets with the neighbors as soon as we can put something together and get going on this.
Second.
Thank you. Stacy, you want to call the roll?
Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Pulapati?
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we already heard item 19.1.
Madam Mayor, if I could just make a request on that last item.
Of course.
The staff looked through the public comment. There were some really good suggestions in there, and sort of make a list of those. I would suggest committee members, you could do the same, but it might be more convenient if staff just did it comprehensively for you. And try to see how many of those items that community members brought up could be addressed.
I agree with you, David. There also I think there were 2 emails that we got today that had some really good suggestions also.
Yeah, all the public comments.
Yeah, so, okay, so we all have our to-do list. And so we're at the point where we would do council requests for future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agenda items? Donald and Garrett? David? Future agenda items?
None for me.
Okay. All right, so there are no future agenda items, so with that, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for staying. We're adjourned.